Chapter 11:13. Dear sisters, Mo Yang has caused trouble for all of you in the past few years. I have troubled all of you to take care of my daily life. It has been hard on all of you. After a moment of silence, Prince Mo Yang suddenly glanced at the group of girls and said emotionally, "Prince. Your Highness." Many pretty maids and concubines were stunned and looked at each other. Prince Mo Yang was unrestrained and had never been so serious before. A trace of reluctance flashed through Crown Prince Mo Yang's clear eyes, but his handsome face gradually became firm. He said softly, "But all good things must come to an end. Our fate has come to an end. From now on, all of you are free. You are no longer my maids. All of you can leave now. Prince, we are not willing to leave you. Your Highness, we are willing to stay with you and accompany you day and night." Many pretty maids and concubines knelt on the ground with tears falling like rain. They were reluctant to leave and begged for mercy. "Let's go. The reason why I was so unrestrained and neglected my cultivation was because I thought I was a genius. Not many people in my generation could suppress me." Prince Mo Yang was dispirited and depressed. He said blankly, "But after meeting Star Butcher today, I finally know what a real genius is. I finally understand the gap between me and a real expert. I want to cut off all my emotions and desires and focus on my cultivation." Prince Mo Yang's eyes gradually brightened. Obviously, the battle today had allowed him to grow rapidly. At this moment, his voice was sonorous and powerful, without the flippant tone from before. "I want to enter the House of Extraordinary Warriors. I want to learn from everyone. 3 months later, I want to break through to level 2 Golden Core. Dear sisters, all of you should leave now. If fate allows, we will meet again." Princess Yu Jiao smiled and persuaded them. In one night, the battle seemed to have awakened her brother completely. There was more determination between his eyebrows. This transformation and growth made her happy. After Prince Mo Yang and the rest left, the Mao family returned to Maolin City in their respective carriages. Jiang Tian and the rest were accompanied by Mao Bohu and Mao Hongdai. In the carriage, Mao Bohu's face was solemn as he said coldly, "There is no good banquet. I'm afraid Fairy Luo Mei is already suspicious of Immortal Master Star Butcher." So fast. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they cried out in alarm. "I know." Jiang Tian nodded slightly and sipped his tea leisurely. "Then why did she want Xiu Zhu to marry my sister?" Mao Hongdai was filled with confusion and disbelief. "The first reason is to confuse us and make us lower our guard. It was the same when she asked true immortal Jiang if he had a Dao companion. Secondly, it's to pave the way for us to seize Maolin City after we eliminate the Mao family." Mao Bohu's eyes were sharp. Originally, the Fan family had always wanted to seize Maolin City, and they also had the strength to do so. However, the Fan clan and Mao clan's relationship with each other is still there. Moreover, I've been kind to them all these years. This can satisfy their appetites and make it impossible for them to find a reason to attack me. But it's different this time. I'm friends with Kang Teichu, the thorn in the Changxing sect's side. How could they be polite? After the Mao family is eliminated, Fan Xiu Zhu will be the son-in-law of the Mao family. It'll be too easy for him to gather his former subordinates. Lady Wu of Yi Karen was shocked. She said in disbelief, "Fairy Luo Mei looks like a fairy who has descended from the heavens. She's so pure and natural. How can she be so vicious?" The special envoy of the Changxing sect in the country has a higher status than the sect leader and is second only to the elders. Jiang Tian sneered. "She's only a mid-stage Golden Core cultivator. Do you think she's useless? She's ruthless and resolute. She's not inferior to any man." "Yes." Mao Bohu couldn't help but exclaim at the thought of the bloody scene where she killed the city lord of Shilong City. He said uneasily, "It's very dangerous this time." Fairy Luo Mei was originally at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. Furthermore, her coachman, Senior Ku Mu, was also an eminent monk. His strength was not to be underestimated. Furthermore, the power she could mobilize was not small. How many golden core cultivators can she mobilize? Li Wuji asked in a panic. She has at least 10 golden core cultivators under her command. The upper limit is the full strength of the Changxing sect and 100 golden core cultivators. After hearing what Mao Bohu said, everyone's face turned pale. Li Wuji immediately wanted to cry. He asked, "My friend, may I ask if the teleport array outside Maolin City can be modified to return to Earth? Even if I have the means to modify it, it'll take me half a month to collect materials and build the array." Jiang Tian said. Li Wuji immediately beat his chest and stomped his feet. He was so regretful that his intestines turned green. "My friend, I didn't believe you. I shouldn't have come. It's great to be in the Kunlun sect. I can read the Yellow Palace when I'm free, play the zither when I'm free, and enjoy the company of the wind and the moon. I can also drink wine and talk with 2 or 3 fellow cultivators." Jiang Tian said he could kill golden core cultivators, but how could Jiang Tian be a match for 10 golden core cultivators at the same time? "Don't agree just now. You know there are tigers on the mountain, but you still want to go there. Are you out of your mind?" Li Wuji said angrily. Mao Bohu also looked solemn and uneasy. Tomorrow morning, Fairy Luo Mei would be able to set up an inescapable trap in the Fan family. She would have the upper hand and waited for Jiang Tian to come. "It doesn't matter. We're here to fight a tiger. How can we get tiger cubs without entering the tiger's den? Even if the sect master of the Changshan sect comes, so what?" Jiang Tian's expression was calm and unhurried, as calm as a calm lake. Li Wuji was left in a mess in the wind. He wrung his hands and sighed, feeling extremely depressed. The next evening, Jiang Tian led Tang Linglong, Yi Karen, Lady Wu, and Li Wuji to the Fan family's mansion. Mao Bohu and his 2 daughters accompanied them. The Fan family's mansion was even more magnificent than the Mao family's. There were many tall buildings and palaces, covering a few hundred acres of land. There was a guard every 5 steps and a guard every 10 steps, just like a small city. However, there were very few family members and servants, so it didn't seem very lively. Seeing this, Jiang Tian sneered and continued to enter. On the other side, Fan Shouju and a few leaders and young talents of Maolin City had already arrived. When they saw Jiang Tian, Fan Shouju and his father immediately came to welcome him. Fan Wantao's father, Fan Wantao, was wearing heavy armor and was tall. He said with a smile, "Welcome perfected immortal Xing Tu, City Lord, and all of you. It's an honor to have you here." He put Jiang Tian's name in front of Mao Bohu's. Apparently, he valued Jiang Tian more. "Ha, Brother Fan, I'm afraid you have to change the way you address us. Call us in-laws." Mao Bohu laughed and was very affectionate. He was also a drama queen. Mao Billion blushed. Both of them had their own plans as they chatted affectionately while escorting Jiang Tian to the central hall of the mansion. "Perfected immortal Xing Tu is here. Please forgive me for being late to welcome you." Fan Luomei, who had been notified, also came out to welcome him. She was elegant and had a smile on her face. Her charm was unparalleled. "I just arrived." Jiang Tian cupped his hands politely. Fan Luomei said, "Everyone, please enjoy the wine in the hall. I have something important to discuss with perfected immortal Xing Tu later." She was like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. She was full of immortal qi, which made people feel refreshed and comfortable. She politely made a gesture of invitation and walked towards the back garden with light steps. Seeing this, Mao Bohu and Li Wuji's eyes flashed with a hint of worry. However, Jiang Tian's face was still as water. He said, "Yes, sir." After the 2 of them left, the hall was in an uproar. "Ha, Auntie called perfected immortal Xing Tu away alone. I wonder what she has to say." Fan Shouju said with a wink. "Yes. This is the first time I've seen Fairy Luo Mei so respectful to a man alone. Many experts and geniuses were astonished and curious. Fan Wentao laughed and said, "My sister is already 30 years old, but she still doesn't have a Dao partner. I heard that perfected immortal Xing Tu has a Dao partner. But which cultivator doesn't have 3 wives and 4 concubines? If true immortal Xing Tu can tie the knot with Fairy Luo Mei, then our 2 families will be even closer than before." Ha! Mao Bohu laughed heartily and seemed to be in high spirits. He forced himself to put on an act, but in fact, he was already feeling uneasy. Li Wuji drank his tea quietly. His right hand, which was holding the wine cup, trembled slightly. Jiang Tian and Fan Luomei left the hall, passed through a few doors, and arrived at the backyard. This place was like the Taj Mahal. The trees were trimmed neatly like guards. The lawn was flat, and the pond occupied a lot of space. The pond water was clear. Jiang Tian shook his head when he saw this. In terms of landscape art, West Earth was really not as good as Huaxia. It lacked variety and was too boring. Fan Luomei chatted with Jiang Tian and accompanied Jiang Tian as they walked slowly. Today, she was wearing a brightly colored sarong. Her figure was indistinct, and one could vaguely see her perfectly round and slender thighs. Her chest was like billowing waves, and her skin was as white as snow. Her makeup was exquisite, and there was a red dot between her eyebrows. She wore big golden earrings, silver bracelets, jade bracelets, and long golden armor on her fingers. She was full of exotic charm. This woman was noble and otherworldly, but there was also a hint of charm that made one's heart itch. Suddenly, Fan Luomei stood still. She looked back at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, "Cultivator Xing Tu, should I call you Jiang Tian or Kang Teichu?" Chapter 11-14. The Changshan sect is indeed the 5th most powerful sect in the West Earth. You're very well informed. Jiang Tian didn't panic at all after his identity was exposed. His face was calm as he chuckled and said, "How did you find out?" "Fan Shuzhu told you." "Fan Shuzhu, that rascal, worships you like a real god. Why would he betray you?" Fairy Luo Mei stroked her hair and smiled. "It's just that every time the teleportation portal is activated, there will be violent fluctuations. I was in charge of monitoring the teleportation portal you went through. Besides, your background is mysterious. You have the ability to kill golden core cultivators, and you're from the Yan Huang tribe. Your first appearance was near the teleportation portal. If you're not Kang Teichu, who else could you be? But why did you join the Changshan sect? You're the ruler of Earth. Even I'm a little moved by you. I thought you participated in the battle on the Golden Lotus platform because of me." As she spoke, her beautiful eyes flickered, revealing a hint of charm. However, her temperament was noble, cold, and otherworldly. Jiang Tian believed that as long as she curled her finger, not many people in this world could resist her fatal temptation. "Hee, I came here to destroy the Changshan sect and find all the seeds of spiritual qi revival. The reason why I joined the Changshan sect is to take them by surprise. I know you have many followers, but you're all fools. I don't want to hurt the innocent. You won't refuse to lead the way for me, right?" Jiang Tian said with a serious expression. Fairy Luo Mei was only a mid-stage golden core cultivator. In the eyes of others, she was a goddess, but in Jiang Tian's eyes, she was just an ant that could be killed with a flick of his finger. "Ha! Taoist Tai Chu, you let me lead the way. Do you know that your life and death are in my hands? Your fate is in my hands." Fairy Luo Mei laughed as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. Her laughter was crisp like silver bells. At this time, the elder called Gumu walked over, deep love and infatuation in his eyes. Then he bowed and said respectfully, "Fairy Luo Mei, everything is ready." "Yes. Senior Deadwood, thank you for your hard work." Fairy Luo Mei nodded slightly. The withered tree held a whip and obediently stood behind Fairy Luo Mei. Although Kumu was once an eminent monk who had tens of millions of followers, and his authority was comparable to that of a country's monarch. However, at this moment, before Fairy Luo Mei, he was like the most loyal servant. Cultivator Tai Chu, I know you're strong, but you're too arrogant. You're underestimating the longevity sect. Fairy Luo Mei was still smiling, but her face was no longer charming, and her eyes were ice cold. At this moment, she seemed to be the special envoy of the longevity sect who controlled the lives of hundreds of millions of people in the giant cities of the Cloud Mist country. Whoosh! Whoosh! Following a series of whooshing sounds, the figures of several experts arrived like rainbows. Each streak of light represented the arrival of a Foundation establishment powerhouse. For a time, many rainbows crisscrossed in the air, densely packed like a giant net. It was unknown how many experts would rush over this time. Swish! 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 Overlords in the black clothes of the longevity sect appeared everywhere in the back garden. Some of these experts had heavy auras that were lofty like mountains, some were violent like erupting volcanoes, some were piercingly cold and sharp like treasured swords, some were ferocious like primeval ferocious beasts that had been born into the world, and they were extremely bloodthirsty and emitted a dense and pungent smell of blood. These people were the patrolling agents of the longevity sect in many cities of the Cloud Mist country. In the past, they had intimidated a region and were comparable to the noble city lords. Just them. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and shook his head in disappointment. There were hundreds of Foundation establishment overlords, and each of them was an expert who had experienced hundreds of battles and whose hands were stained with blood. If any of them were on Earth, they would surpass Li Wuji and Kasayapa Guru. They would be able to control a country and a sect, and even a superpower like the United States would be wary of them. But if they wanted to besiege Jiang Tian, it would be no different from a fantasy story. Back then, Jiang Tian only had 3 divine bodies, but he was able to kill Foundation establishment overlords as easily as killing chickens on planet Tianqing. Thousands of Foundation establishment overlords had died in his hands. Besides, Jiang Tian already had 4 of the most powerful divine bodies at the moment. Although Jiang Tian was only at the 4th level of the Foundation establishment level, he had 4 divine bodies at the moment and was as powerful as 4 Golden Core overlords with superior grade Golden Cores. Such combat power was invincible in this world. He could kill normal Golden Core cultivators like cutting grass and even fight with nascent soul cultivators. That was why Jiang Tian dared to set foot in this world. If it's just them, I've underestimated Tai Chu. I heard that not only did he dominate Earth, but he also conquered the star dimension. Fairy Luo Mei smiled faintly. She was ethereal and otherworldly. Her bearing was boundless as she lightly clapped her hands. Swish, swish, swish. Another 10 experts descended. Some of them wore the golden robes of the Long Life sect, their appearances strict and strict. Some of them were the sect masters and sect masters of a few medium-sized sects, all of them brimming with the powerful aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. Their true essence was much more condensed than that of the previous 100 overlords. They were apparently 10 Golden Core overlords. The 3 leaders had even reached the mid-stage of the Golden Core level, which was comparable to Fan Luo Mei. Some of them are my close friends in the sect, some are guardians, some are sect masters and some are sect masters. Fairy Luo Mei's face carried a trace of arrogance as she said in a delicate voice, they often fight with me. We can even kill a peak stage Golden Core overlord if we work together. What do you think, Tai Chu? So. Jiang Tian's expression did not change at all. The Changshan sect was indeed powerful. West Earth was comparable to the ruins of deity and was much more powerful than Heavenly State. The overlords of the Changshan sect and the Yunlan country were almost as powerful as the entire Sacred Hall. And yet, Jiang Tian still didn't think much of them. I know you're powerful. You're not only the top cultivator on Earth, but you can also destroy the Heavenly Star world. Apparently, you don't care about 100 Foundation establishment cultivators and 10 Golden Core overlords. Fairy Luo Mei was startled, then she cracked a smile. One of the Foundation establishment cultivators snorted coldly. It was obvious that he was not convinced by Jiang Tian. Even though Kasayapa Guru couldn't travel to this world, it was relatively convenient for him to send messages. Apparently, the Changshan sect had already investigated Jiang Tian thoroughly. Boom! Boom! The ground shook and light shone. There seemed to be a giant dragon rolling under the ground and violent energy was about to burst out of the ground. All of a sudden, bright beams of light shot out from the back garden in all directions. The light beams twisted and spread, forming a sky curtain in the sky. The stars on it flickered and flickered. It was very beautiful. Suddenly, red light spots appeared on Jiang Tian's forehead, chest, and even legs. They were the array formation's aiming devices. Great overarching heavenly star formation. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and looked surprised. Then, he nodded and praised, "That's more like it." The great overarching heavenly star formation was a very common offensive array formation in the cultivation world. It could gather the essence chi of heaven and earth to form a sky curtain and stars, enveloping the target like an inescapable net and releasing attacks. If the target wanted to break the array formation, they would need a lot of strength and time. And before they could break it, they would be like a turtle in a jar. Their range of movement would be extremely small, and they would be at the mercy of the other party. This kind of array formation was very common in the cultivation world. Jiang Tian had destroyed many of them in his previous life. Moreover, Jiang Tian had almost torn the sky star map in heavenly state, so he naturally wouldn't take it to heart. The reason why he was surprised was that he didn't expect such an array formation to appear in West Earth. That's right. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium is indeed knowledgeable. This is the great overarching heavenly star formation. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium's background is mysterious, and his cultivation is unfathomable. I was very worried, so I traveled through the night to transfer this protective array formation from the sect and urgently set it up. I heard that fellow Taoist Grand Primordium could withstand cannon fire on Earth, but the light rays released by this array formation can kill all living creatures. It can cut through frost iron essence and pierce through mountains. I wonder if fellow Taoist Grand Primordium can withstand it. At this moment, Fairy Luo Mei finally revealed her trump card. Her greatest reliance and trump card was actually the great overarching heavenly star formation. Once this array formation was released, Jiang Tian instantly fell into an extremely dangerous killing trap. It could be said to be an inescapable net that couldn't be shaken or avoided. It seemed that Jiang Tian could only surrender and admit defeat. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium, please do me a favor and admit defeat. Fairy Luo Mei's eyes shone with a cold light. She looked down at Jiang Tian like a high and mighty queen. Plant a soul contract with me, follow me to the Changshan sect, and become a disciple of the hierarch. I guarantee that you won't die, and you'll have great fortune. You'll be our agent on Earth, then, you can use my foundation on Earth to come to Earth and enslave the humans on Earth. Jiang Tian snickered and said, "You'll be the biggest contributor to the Changshan sect. And you are the greatest contributor to the Changshan sect. You have the opportunity to be promoted to an elder, or even the vice-hierarch. You will also receive supreme cultivation arts and endless cultivation resources, right?" Chapter 11:15. Yes, isn't that great? Fairy Luo Mei took it for granted. Her eyes were filled with disdain as she said proudly, "Earth is filthy. The humans on Earth were just a bunch of weak ants. It's your great fortune to be enslaved by the Changshan sect. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We will realize your sublimation and evolution. You don't agree?" Seeing Jiang Tian's disdainful look, Fairy Luo Mei suddenly sneered. "Don't think that you're so great just because you've conquered the star dimension. That's just a secret realm. Among the ruins of immortals, the stellar sky domain is just a level 4-dimensional world. There are only a few golden core cultivators and none of them are nascent soul cultivators. I've got more than 10 golden core cultivators under my control. Sigh, it seems like you've lost contact with Earth after Kasayapa Guru's death. Jiang Tian sighed leisurely. There was some regret on his face. He smiled bitterly and said, "Did your sect master not tell you my true strength?" "Your strength?" "From what I've seen, you're at most a mid-stage golden core cultivator. How can you be our match?" Fairy Luo Mei paused and then said proudly, "My sect leader has been in seclusion for many years. He won't come out until the blood-bathing ceremony. His goal is to challenge the Golden Rock Temple's Tathagata. He won't even look at you, an ant from Earth." Seclusion. Jiang Tian was enlightened. He smiled and said, "No wonder. If your sect leader knows that I'm here, he should come out and greet me. He shouldn't have asked you to provoke me." "What do you mean? How dare you disrespect the Changshan sect leader?" Fairy Luo Mei was furious and scolded. In her eyes, the Changshan sect leader was a genius who only appeared once in a few thousand years. He was like a real god. How could he be blasphemed by an ant like Jiang Tian? "What I mean is that your horizons are too shallow. You have no idea of Jiang Taichu's strength and ability." Jiang Tian turned to face Fan Luomei and said word by word, "If the leader of the Deathless sect knows that I'm here, she should kowtow and beg me not to annihilate your entire sect. If you knew my true strength, you wouldn't have offended me like this." Jiang Tian was currently dominating the three realms, and he was the ruler of the three realms. In particular, Jiang Tian had killed dozens of gold core powerhouses in the Heavenly Kingdom. He could even kill the nascent soul-old monster, Qiliao. Such strength was truly shocking. Unfortunately, Fairy Luo Mei was still too young and was too far away from the true upper echelons. She wasn't the master of a great sect, the owner of a famous mountain, or even an elder. She didn't know the top secrets, and she didn't know that Jiang Tian had already killed his way to the heavenly country and annihilated everything. Her vision had always been limited to the Cloud Mist Kingdom. She was more adept at playing tricks, fighting for power, and ruling over the mortal world. She was only doing small things in this small area. "Kang Taichu, it's time for you to die. I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen. You're digging your own grave." Fairy Luo Mei was enraged. She could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. At first, she wanted to spare Jiang Tian's life for Fan Shouju's sake. She didn't expect that this person would still be so stubborn and arrogant when he was already a turtle in a jar. "Kill him!" A Foundation Establishment overlord shouted and stomped his right foot. A fire dragon burst out from under his feet and burned towards Jiang Tian. "Ha! You're too weak to play with fire with me." Jiang Tian stomped his foot. The fire dragon was frozen on the ground like a dead snake, unable to move at all. How is that possible? The Foundation Establishment overlord was stunned. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. Before he could dodge, a golden finger aura entered his forehead and came out from the back of his head with blood and brain matter. Kill. The death of this person was equivalent to blowing the horn to attack. Instantly, all the Foundation Establishment overlords swarmed forward, using their ultimate techniques and leaping towards Jiang Tian like a swarm of locusts. Ants. Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with disdain. He leaped into the air and turned around, waving his fingers. Chi! 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 They spread out in the shape of a fan, crisscrossing and stacking. They changed in an instant and were incomparably magnificent. They swept out in all directions, piercing and slashing wildly. It was as if a huge golden flower had bloomed in the sky. However, it was extremely sharp and dangerous. Chi! 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 Cries of agony filled the sky. Countless people were torn into pieces and fell to the ground like a rain of flesh. With that attack, Jiang Tian killed 30 Foundation Establishment overlords. How is that possible? Fairy Luo Mei was dumbfounded. Killing 30 Foundation Establishment overlords in one attack was 10 times more powerful than Jiang Tian's combat power on the Life and Death Ring. Swish! The grand overarching heavenly star array erupted. A dazzling golden ray of light erupted from the virtual star, piercing towards Jiang Tiandong. However, Jiang Tian didn't even try to dodge. He stomped his right foot, and his golden gung divine body erupted. He was like a golden Buddha, and that ray of light only left a weak scratch on his body. It was unable to harm Jiang Tian at all. What? Everyone's eyes almost popped out. The light attack of the Daluotian star array was much more powerful than the military lasers on Earth. It could easily penetrate mountains, cities and Dharma artifacts. Killing golden core overlords was as easy as killing chickens. Even the true essence and body of a golden core overlord had to be killed. Attack! The 10 golden core overlords unleashed their essence chi at the same time and attacked. For a time, many strange phenomena appeared. Mountains fell from the sky and smashed down, huge beasts rushed over and bit, flames covered the sky, ice arrows shot out explosively. They attacked Jiang Tian from all directions. Such an attack could severely injure an early-stage golden core overlord. Even sacred ancestor Qiu Yao would have to be careful. But Jiang Tian didn't care. He grunted and activated his red bird divine body. Suddenly, rumble. One after another, blazing flames gushed out from Jiang Tian's dantian in a straight line, gushing out in all directions, constantly expanding and spreading. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian was like a god of fire. He stood in the air and spewed out endless true fire, destroying everything. The vermilion bird's true fire was of the utmost yang attribute, capable of refining the heavens and incinerating the earth. There was nothing it could not burn, even metal and iron. Who could stop it? Arg! The eyes of the 10 golden core overlords turned red. Then, their eyes were burned by a blinding white light. Tears flowed out of their eyes and blood flowed out. Everything turned black and they lost their sight. Then, they were engulfed by the red bird true fire and their golden cores exploded. The fire was so terrifying that even their golden cores were turned into ashes. Perfected immortal, we've lost. Spare our lives. The other Foundation establishment overlords were scared out of their wits. They threw away their weapons and knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. Such a flame was too terrifying. It could even melt a golden core. How could they withstand it when they were still made of flesh and blood? But Jiang Tian didn't care. The fire surged out and filled the entire grand overarching heaven star array. From afar, it looked like a huge fireball. These flames are so terrifying. Fairy Luo Mei was dumbfounded. She wanted to escape, but she was already surrounded by the endless red bird true fire. There were flames all around her, under her feet and above her head. As far as his eyes could see, there was no way out. But the flames seemed to be controlled by Jiang Tian. They formed a barrier around her and the coachman so that they didn't burn. Although she was anxious and broke out in a cold sweat, she didn't dare to rush out because she would die if she did. She only saw, boundless vermilion bird primordial fire erupted from Jiang Tian's body, gushing out in all directions like a sea of fire, filling up the entire back garden. Countless people struggled and screamed in the flames, but their screams were short and stopped abruptly. They were instantly turned into a puff of smoke along with their Dharma artifacts, weapons, and protective clothing. Nothing was left, not even ashes. One golden core after another cracked in the raging flames before exploding like massive fireworks. Colorful balls of energy shot out in all directions. She saw the dazzling flames take on all kinds of shapes. Some were like cages that trapped overlords, some were like swords and knives, some were like ancient beasts roaring and rampaging, and some were like dragons baring their fangs and claws. They roared in the sky and opened their mouths to bite and devour. The red bird true fire destroyed everything, burned everything, and destroyed everything. Be it Foundation establishment immortals or Golden Core perfected immortals, they died under the burning of the red bird true fire before they could even scream. They couldn't even last a second. Instant kill. It was a complete instant kill. A massacre. A merciless massacre. In the twisting flames, the pond instantly dried up and the trees turned into ashes. The hardened ground and rocks turned into lava that undulated like a sea of lava. Suddenly, a few poisonous dragon-like flames drilled into the ground. The flaming dragons disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving behind huge holes. However, the holes were quickly filled by flowing lava. Bang, bang, bang. The ground shook violently and the lava surged. 100 meters underground, the foundation of the great overarching heavenly stars formation was destroyed by the flames. The formation structure was destroyed and there was a huge explosion. The ground caved in, creating huge craters. The surrounding pillars of light flickered a few times and suddenly dimmed. The great overarching heavenly stars formation in the sky was like a piece of paper that was instantly pierced through by the red bird true fire dragons. Then, with a boom, it completely shattered. Whoosh! Jiang Tian waved his hand and the torrential red bird true fire instantly gathered and drilled into Jiang Tian's dantian like a tired bird returning to its nest. In an instant, the smoke dissipated and the entire back garden was empty. All the experts had died an unnatural death. All that was left was billowing black smoke. The scorching hot lava was shivering as it flowed. Only the remaining flames on the ground were dancing nervously. Only Jiang Tian was left standing proudly in the air, looking down at the dumbfounded Master Kumu and the dumbfounded Fairy Luo Mei. I, Kang Te Chu, am an ant on earth. My life is in your hands. I am a mid-stage golden core cultivator. I should bow down and admit defeat to you. As Jiang Tian looked at the trembling Fairy Luo Mei, he clasped his hands behind his back, and a mocking smile appeared at the corners of his eyes. Do you still think so now? Fan Luo Mei, you are really stupid and naive. Chapter 11:16. Grand Primordium. Fairy Luo Mei had a panicked expression on her face, and her legs went soft. She was unable to withstand the immense pressure. Even though she was the special envoy of the Cloud Mist Kingdom of the Changshan sect and thought that she was powerful and shrewd, she was still scared and felt like her head was about to explode in front of Jiang Tian, who was as terrifying as an ancient fiend. Freeze! Jiang Tian waved his sleeves, and the lava instantly cooled and solidified, turning into flat ground. Jiang Tian landed on the ground and walked towards her. I told you, you're ignorant and stupid. Jiang Tian looked at Fan Luo Mei mockingly and snickered. If you had any sense, you wouldn't have provoked me and killed yourself. The sect master of the Changshan sect is no match for me. It can be said that in the entire West Earth, there are very few who can fight me. Maybe only the one from the Golden Rock Temple on Mount Thunder is qualified. As for you, you're no match for me even if there are 100 of you. Fairy Luo Mei trembled and couldn't say anything. Her heart was filled with shock, fear and regret. Jiang Tian had killed more than 100 Foundation Establishment cultivators and 10 Golden Core cultivators with the true fire of the Red Sparrow. The great overarching stars array was broken like a piece of paper. Such peerless grace, how powerful, how terrifying, how terrifying. She finally understood why Jiang Tian was able to dominate Earth and suppress Star World. It was all because of his strength. In front of absolute power, all schemes and tricks were just a joke. No matter how many schemes you had, he would be able to destroy them with a single punch. Grand Primordium, don't kill me, Fairy Luo Mei wanted to beg, but Jiang Tian interrupted her. You've schemed against me. Give me a reason not to kill you. I'll give you 3 chances. I can mediate between true immortal Jiang and the Changshan sect and make peace. I can help you conquer the Cloud Mist country. You'll be the ruler of 100 cities and a few 100 million people. Fairy Luo Mei trembled and opened her mouth a few times before uttering these words that were full of pleading. Faced with the threat of death, she could only think from Jiang Tian's point of view and think of a reason not to let Jiang Tian kill himself. But she didn't even have the qualifications to be Jiang Tian's woman, servant, or disciple. Jiang Tian's strength was obviously far beyond the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and he was close to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. There were only a handful of such experts in the West Earth dimension. They were already comparable to the masters of large sects. How could Jiang Tian put her in his eyes? Shake hands and make peace. Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and sneered. I'm here to destroy the longevity sect, and you want me to make peace with them? You have 2 more chances. I know that the Cloud Mist country is not worth mentioning in your eyes. Fairy Luo Mei broke out in a cold sweat. She kneeled on the ground and said softly, the Cloud Mist country has been established for a long time and has been operating in the West Earth for thousands of years. They have great influence and rich connections. There are many small and medium-sized sects that can be used as the foundation and resources to defeat the longevity sect. You want to destroy the longevity sect? This is not something that can be done in a day. The longevity sect's leader, Ming Rui, is not as simple as you think. Besides, even if you destroy the longevity sect, this place still doesn't belong to you. Because you're a Yan Huang tribesman. And I can be your representative and represent the longevity sect to submit to you and help you take over the longevity sect. At that time, the entire North region will be your world. She spoke incoherently, looking at Jiang Tian's cold eyes. Suddenly, she gritted her teeth, raised her tear-stained face, and begged for mercy, and humility appeared in her clear, beautiful eyes. She softly said, Luo Mei has never had a Dao partner, and I'm still a virgin. As long as you don't kill me, I'm willing to be your slave and let you do whatever you want. She was originally an otherworldly beauty with a figure that could topple cities. Her figure was exquisite and curvaceous. Now that she was kneeling down, her buttocks naturally stuck out, forming an alluring and round arc. Coupled with her shy, timid, and pitiful appearance, it was likely that no man would be able to resist this fatal temptation. Fairy, how can you do this, to a lowly Yan Huang tribesman? Order the people in the hall to attack. We'll capture his companions. He'll have to surrender for fear of breaking the vases. Carriage driver Ku Mu's eyes were filled with despair. His body was trembling, and he felt like an idol that had collapsed. He muttered in a low voice. The original Fairy Luo Mei was high and mighty in his heart, like a goddess. But at this moment, she was so lowly and willing to be Jiang Tian's servant. Willing to be a servant of a Yan Huang tribesman. Ku Mu, shut up. Fairy Luo Mei suddenly felt that this person was extremely stupid. What's the point of saying all this? At least for now, he has already killed 10 Jindan experts and broken the Zenith Heaven Star formation. He has the complete initiative. Our lives are in his hands. If you continue to speak rudely, aren't you courting death? Noisy. As expected, Jiang Tian's face turned cold, and he waved his hand. The vermilion bird's holy true fire spewed out and coiled around him like an angry dragon. Instantly, this old man did not even have time to scream before his Jindan exploded on the spot, turning into green smoke and ashes that dissipated. Fairy Luo Mei's entire body trembled. She was horrified. Jiang Tian smiled and said, I won't kill you, but you have to be valuable. From now on, you have to tell me everything you know and be loyal to me. Of course. Fairy Luo Mei's face was full of pleading. She said coquettishly, I'm willing to be a slave and serve the Grand Primordium True Immortal for life. Rest assured, True Immortal. I'm not at ease. You're not like Mao Hongdai, pure and sincere. Jiang Tian suddenly sneered and said, You're cunning and vicious. You have disloyal thoughts at all times. How can I be at ease? Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium, are you going to kill me? Hearing that, Fairy Luo Mei was so shocked that her face turned pale and her legs trembled. I won't kill you. But I need to put something in your sea of consciousness. Jiang Tian laughed. A soul devourer erupted from the small golden lake in the center of his forehead. A black, gelatinous feeler stretched out and burrowed into Fairy Luo Mei's mind. The immortal bone on her forehead contained a powerful divine sense that could block the divine sense attack of a late-stage golden core expert. However, it could not block the soul devourer for even a second. What is this? Fairy Luo Mei felt a black god fiend in her sea of consciousness and could not help but turn pale. This god fiend was ferocious and terrifying. Its face vaguely resembled Jiang Tian's. It was indomitable and incomparably powerful, with torrential demonic qi. Her divine sense was as small as a speck of dust compared to it. Soul Devourer. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Other than me, there are not many people in the universe who can get rid of it. It will accompany you for the rest of your life and constantly monitor your every move. Your thoughts and consciousness are no secret to me. Besides, this soul devourer can swallow all soul energy. Once you have disloyal thoughts, no matter how strong your divine sense is, you will be swallowed by it and become a walking corpse. It's so terrifying." Fairy Luo Mei's divine soul trembled and cold sweat poured out. She hurriedly bowed and said, "Master, don't worry. I'll be loyal and will never betray you. Let's go to the hall and talk to them. Don't let them worry there." Jiang Tian walked to the front yard. Chapter 11-17. In the hall, Li Wuji, Mao Hongdai, Mao Bohu, and the others were all very anxious. Jiang Tian went to the backyard. That place was dead silent, not a single sound could be heard. They knew that a soundproof restriction must have been used. The battle between Jiang Tian and Fairy Luo Mei had already broken out. Mao Bohu could not hold back and was about to attack when he saw Fairy Luo Mei and Jiang Tian walk in. "Luo Mei. You just..." Fan Wentao exclaimed. Fairy Luo Mei was a few steps behind Jiang Tian. She bowed slightly and lowered her head like a servant. He had never seen such a scene before. Mao Bohu and the others were overjoyed. This meant that Jiang Tian had won and successfully suppressed Fan Luo Mei. Fan Luo Mei stroked her hair and looked around. She smiled and said, "A few enemies invaded just now. Fellow cultivator Xing Tu helped me defeat them." "I see. Senior Xing Tu is indeed extraordinary." Many family heads and patriarchs were suspicious, but they did not dare to ask. They still gave him a thumbs up and praised him crazily. "Everyone, please take your seats. This is the day of the marriage between the Fan family and the Mao family. It is also a farewell banquet for Senior Xing Tu and Hongdai. I hope everyone can return with joy." Fairy Luo Mei forced a smile and greeted everyone. Everyone returned to their seats and started the banquet again. Jiang Tian was led to the seat of honor by Fan Luo Mei and sat in the middle. She sat down and accompanied Jiang Tian, pouring wine and dishes for him from time to time. She served him well like the most considerate servant. Everyone was surprised and could not believe it. Mao Bilian's eyes almost popped out. Jiang Tian was not interested in eating with them. The banquet lasted for half an hour before Fan Luo Mei dismissed everyone. At this time, only the people of the Fan family, Jiang Tian's companions, and the father and daughter of the Mao family were left. Fan Luo Mei glanced at everyone and said softly, "Now, I am true immortal Zhang's subordinate. The Fan clan should no longer have any thoughts of disobedience. We will forever be the vassal of the Mao clan, and we will be loyal and devoted without any objections. True immortal Jiang. Could Senior Star Butcher's surname be Jiang?" Fan Xiaozhu's face was filled with confusion. He still didn't know what was going on. Fan Wentao smiled bitterly and bowed deeply to Mao Bohu. "Big brother Mao, true immortal Jiang, we did plan to kill you. It was all my fault. If you want to punish us, then punish us however you want." He was also a straightforward person. Since the operation had failed, he might as well admit to it all. "Kill him or cut him up as you wish." Fan Xiaozhu was shocked. He said blankly, "What do you mean? I don't understand. Didn't our two families just get engaged? Aunt also admires Senior Xing Tu and has a good impression of him. Could it be that Auntie's love turned into hatred after being rejected?" A ridiculous idea suddenly emerged in Fan Xiaozhu's mind. Fan Luo Mei smiled bitterly. Jiang Tian looked at Fan Xiaozhu and smiled faintly. "Xiaozhu, I have no reason to hide it from you now. I am the sect leader of the Tianqing school on earth, Kang Te Chu. Clatter. The teacup fell to the ground and shattered. Fan Xiaozhu's face changed, and he almost fell on his butt. Jiang, Kang Te Chu. You are from Earth, and you have reached Jindan battle power. Fan Xiaozhu said in a trembling voice. He was shocked and afraid. What was shocking was, ever since he had met Jiang Tian, his impression of him had been refreshed again and again, and his worldview had been turned upside down again and again. Originally, the Yan Huang tribe had found it difficult to make a name for themselves in West Earth. They were basically mortals. But Jiang Tian had killed so many elites at the life and death arena, and become a personal disciple of the longevity sect. This was enough to shock him. And now, hearing this news, his worldview was completely shattered. A member of the Yan Huang tribe was actually able to cultivate to the late Jindan realm before the age of 30, and on Earth, where spiritual qi was severely depleted. What he was afraid of was, previously, he had looked down on Jiang Tian because of his identity as a Yan Huang tribe member. He was also afraid of trouble, and wanted to distance himself from Jiang Tian. But later, his aunt, the special envoy of the longevity sect, had returned. His courage had been boosted, and he had walked closer to Jiang Tian. If he had stood on the wrong side, like Prince Mo Yang, Shou Lei, and Feng Batian, he would have died a violent death long ago. He had brushed shoulders with the Grim Reaper. Thinking of this, he was terrified, and his heart almost exploded. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his face was as white as a sheet. Jiang Tian sipped his tea and smiled faintly. Fan family head, you and I have no quarrel. You want to kill me because of my identity. After all, you and I belong to different camps. Now that your sister has decided to follow me, she is one of us. Let bygones be bygones. Jiang Tian fiddled with the tea leaves in the teacup, leisurely glanced at Fan Xiaozhu, chuckled and said, moreover, although Fan Xiaozhu has a bit of a young master's temper, deep down in his bones, he is quite loyal. He has protected me many times. I can still distinguish good from bad. True immortal Zhang's heart is truly open, just like the moon and the breeze, truly admirable. Fan Wentao did not expect Jiang Tian to let him go so easily. He immediately knelt before Jiang Tian. Mao Hongdai looked at her with admiration, and asked curiously, who did Senior Luo Mei invite? Did Skeleton Coachman make a move? He did not even have time to make a move before he was burned to death by true immortal Jiang. Fairy Luo Mei regained her composure, and said with a bitter smile, I think my connections are not bad. I invited more than 100 Foundation establishment cultivators, and 10 of them were Jindan experts. When she said this, the whole place was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded and could not believe it. I thought I was smart and had a lot of plans. I even set up the grand overarching star array. Unfortunately, it was also destroyed by true immortal Jiang. Fairy Luo Mei looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of reverence. She lowered her head and sighed softly. Sttth. Mao Bohu was terrified. His eyes almost popped out. He took a deep breath and said, fellow Taoist friend, the grand overarching sword array. Fellow cultivator Tai Chu, this is the mountain protection array of the Changshan sect, which is said to be able to crush golden core cultivators and kill nascent soul cultivators. And yet, you destroyed it. Even the grand overarching sword array was destroyed. When everyone heard this, they were all shocked by Jiang Tian until they were numb, unable to utter a single word. Senior Grand Overarching Sword Array, Luo Mei did not tell the sect that you came to West Earth because she wanted to take all the credit. Apart from those who were killed, no one in the cult knows about it. Fairy Luo Mei broke the silence and said softly. If that's the case, I think the plan to destroy the Changshan sect should be planned carefully. There's no need to rush. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was completely at ease. Fairy Luo Mei, the biggest reason I didn't kill you is that you're going to take me to the Changshan sect tomorrow. What? So soon? Fan Luomei was terrified and said with a trembling voice, "Fellow Taoist Tai Chu, we have to be careful. Do you know what will happen to us if the Changshan sect finds out?" "Why? Do you think I'm not a match for the sect master of the Changshan sect?" Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and said with a half-smile. "Fellow Taoist Tai Chu, you have no idea how powerful Ming Rui is." Fan Luomei's face turned pale and she clenched her fists, but her body was still trembling uncontrollably. "Do you know that although the Changshan sect has thousands of years of history, it was only a third-rate sect 500 years ago? It wasn't even as good as the Beast Trainer sect. Not to mention dominating West Earth and intimidating the North, even Changshan sect is far inferior compared to a giant city." "I know." Jiang Tian nodded. That was indeed the case in Kasayapa Guru's memory. At that time, the Changshan sect was still very weak. But the current sect master, Ming Rui, is the one who revitalized the Changshan sect. She's known as the sect master of the Changshan sect. Fairy Luomei was shocked and said with a trembling voice, it was her who single-handedly pushed Longevity sect from a mediocre sect to the position of the fifth orthodoxy in West Earth. She once created the 3 laws of Changshan and activated the vitality of the Changshan sect. The disciples of the Changshan sect were united and they advanced bravely. They gradually became the general trend. "What are the 3 laws of Changshan?" Jiang Tian asked. "The first law of the Changshan sect is that all disciples of the Changshan sect should devote their lives to the path of cultivation. They should work tirelessly day and night, regardless of life and death, to reach the peak of cultivation together." Fairy Luomei's face turned solemn as she said in a low voice, "The second law is that if anyone tries to stop us, we must be fearless and heartless. Even if they are deities, we must kill them to prove that the Changshan sect is invincible. The third law is that the disciples don't see the temptation of fame and wealth. They don't listen to the coercion of authority. They don't care about the old rules of filial piety. They are unfettered and seek their own Tao in the world. This is the 3 laws of Changshan. In the Changshan sect, there is no difference between sex, status, family, or love. Everyone is focused on cultivation and pursuing the strongest. No matter who it is in the sect, they can challenge higher-level disciples at any time. If the challenge is successful, not only will they be innocent, they will also be rewarded. The loser's position, cultivation arts, resources. Everything belongs to the winner. As long as you are strong enough, you can become a legend, or even a legend. You can even sit on the seat of the sect leader and rule over the 5th cultivation corporation in West Earth. That is the position closest to being invincible in this world." Crazy. The martial demon lady, Yi Karen, Tang Linglong, and the others were dumbfounded. Their divine souls shook violently and their faces were filled with disbelief. Even Li Wuji was stunned. Chapter 11:18. Is the goal of cultivation to be the strongest? They don't even hesitate to kill their own sect members in order to become the strongest. Li Wuji was also shocked. The Kunlun sect emphasized peace and tranquility, detachment from worldly affairs, and indifference to fame and fortune. The positions in the sect were determined on the basis of seniority and seniority. Through the discussion of the elders, the positions were decided. Although the disciples fought for power and profit, it was inevitable that there would be some small conflicts, but generally speaking, they were quite friendly and harmonious. This kind of fight between fellow disciples and fratricide had never happened before. Including the current sect master, Ming Rui. Since the 3 laws of longevity were promulgated 500 years ago, every sect master of the Changshan sect had become the sect master after killing the previous sect master. This is a good tradition of the Changshan sect and is greatly encouraged. Otherwise, it would be unjustified. Fairy Luomei's words were shocking again. What? Everyone cried out in surprise, dumbfounded. Even Mao Bohu, Fan Wantao, and the others were astounded. It was the first time they had heard of such ironclad rules. If the Tianqing school adopted such rules, who should I challenge? I would never dare to challenge my master and his wife. I can challenge Huang Linger, but to kill her. Many thoughts flashed through Tang Linglong's mind. Suddenly, she felt a chill in her heart and shivered. Although she hated Huang Linger, Sasaki, and the others to the core, she absolutely couldn't kill them. Yes, lunatics. But in my opinion, this is the highest praise for them. However, Yikuren raised her eyebrows and said with a look of fascination, only such lunatics can make progress bravely and climb the supreme path to immortality. Maybe we are so mediocre because we lack a bit of stubbornness. Li Wuji said with a half-smile. However, these rules are somewhat similar to the Tianqing schools. Tianqing school also doesn't care about seniority. It only cares about strength and achievements. The capable ones will be promoted and the mediocre ones will be relegated. Tianqing school has the same rules. Yi Karen looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. The rules of this sect were poles apart from those of the Kunlun sect. One needed to be extremely tenacious, extremely rational, and even more so, great talent and great strategy. The three rulings of longevity are domineering. Only by being magnanimous can one reach the ultimate realm. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and exclaimed in admiration. Although the Changxing sect's cultivation methods are evil and cruel, the founder of the sect and the person who set the rules is indeed a talented and brilliant man. Fellow Taoist Wuji is right. Tianqing school is the same. Back then, I also wanted to implement this kind of challenge system. It doesn't care about seniority or background, only strength. The strong are respected, and the weak are inferior. This is to urge the disciples to advance bravely. But Tianqing school is surrounded by enemies from all sides, and the fighting is endless. The school's challenge system has not been implemented, and the assessment is mainly based on external military achievements. Well, that's right. There's less internal conflict and more opportunities for the disciples to grow and improve. Li Wuji sighed. I wonder what kind of person the current sect master of the Changxing sect is. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes. He was looking forward to meeting the sect master of the Changxing sect, whom he had never met before. Fairy Luo Mei sighed and then said in a trembling voice, when the current sect master, Ming Rui, came up with the three rulings of longevity, he was only a 20-year-old outer sect disciple. His cultivation was only at the first level of the foundation establishment level. But the three rulings of longevity were approved by the sect master at that time, and they have been upheld to this day. After the three rulings of longevity were established, the sect was immediately revived. Ming Rui also created the blood-body exchanging art. Isn't the Changxing sect proficient in cultivation methods of possession? Jiang Tian frowned and asked, but this cultivation method doesn't sound like a cultivation method of possession, does it? It's not a cultivation method of possession, but it's 10 times more evil than possession. Of course, the effect is also 10 times more powerful. Fairy Luo Mei didn't seem to want to talk about this. She sighed and said, Ming Rui announced this cultivation method in the sect. Anyone can practice it and improve it together. Hearing this, Lady Wu exclaimed again, cultivation methods can't be passed down easily. She's actually willing to announce this cultivation method? In the cultivation world of the earth, cultivation methods were even more precious than elixirs and dharma artifacts in the eyes of the cultivators. Almost no one was willing to teach their family's cultivation methods to outsiders, for fear that their disciples would starve to death. There were even strict rules such as only passing it down to males and not females. Secretly learning the cultivation methods of other families or sects would be treated as a serious crime. It was even more serious than digging up someone's ancestral grave. But Ming Rui had actually announced a cultivation method. This is the magnanimity and breadth of mind that a peerless sect should have. In other words, only this way can a peerless sect be nurtured. Jiang Tian's face was full of admiration. Then, he revealed a mocking expression and said, cultivation methods can't be passed down easily. Demonis, you've also seen the real cultivation world. There are many killings, and human lives are like grass. People die at the slightest move. Let me ask you, what if there are only 1 or 2 teachers and 3 to 5 disciples in a cultivation method? What if they're all killed? The cultivation method will be gone. Lady Wu and the others were shocked when they heard this. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed so. Many powerful cultivation methods on Earth had already withered and been cut off. The depletion of spirit qi was one of the reasons. But the more important reason was, in many cultivation sects, the leaders and seniors treasured their cultivation methods for themselves. They were afraid that the cultivation methods would be leaked and were unwilling to expand the scale of the cultivation methods. Or they were worried that their disciples would surpass them and challenge their authority. Thus, they were unwilling to teach their disciples the true cultivation methods. If the cultivation methods were too small and weak, they could not withstand the flames of war and the ups and downs of history. Soon, they would be annihilated in the long river of history. Treasured their cultivation methods. The Grand Master hid a few moves, the Grand Master kept a few moves, and the Master gave a discount. In the end, even if the cultivation method was lucky enough to survive, what was passed down was only 30 to 40% of the cultivation method itself. It was bound to be worse than the previous generation, and worse than the previous generation. Wealth, companions, cultivation methods, luck, there are many factors involved in cultivation methods. But to a cultivation method, humans, or cultivators, are the most active and important factor of all the cultivation methods. Jiang Tian took a sip of tea and chuckled, that's right. If the cultivators are gone, what cultivation methods are there to talk about? What's the point of having cultivation methods and pills? A true cultivation method is bound to pursue a certain scale. On the basis of accepting disciples, the cultivation method can select and nurture the most elite disciples and strengthen the cultivation method. In addition, there are many benefits to publicizing the cultivation methods. Cultivators should not only focus on the master, the book, or the superior. They should focus on the truth, and the Tao. Who can say that the cultivation methods created by the ancestors must be perfect? Who can say that the ancestors are smarter and wiser than the descendants? If that's the case, then wouldn't each generation be worse than the previous? We will never be able to surpass our seniors. In fact, cultivation methods are also a process of evolution and improvement. Ancient cultivation methods may not be as powerful as today's. Cultivation methods are only theories to strengthen the human body. Theories must be tested and verified by practice. It's very simple. We just have to change it. Juniors should start from the perspective of cultivation methods. They should be brave enough to challenge the cultivation methods of the seniors. Only by doing so can the cultivation methods be more perfect and powerful. Ming Rui publicizes the cultivation methods and mobilizes the cultivation methods of the entire cultivation method. Tens of thousands of cultivators will pool their wisdom to cultivate, study, and improve the cultivation methods. This will strengthen the cultivation methods to perfection in the shortest time possible. In the end, Jiang Tian said with emotion, the female sect master of the Changshan sect is indeed extraordinary. She is not inferior to men at all. Jiang Tian's words caused Li Wuji, Yi Karen, and the others to feel as if they were suddenly enlightened, and their hearts shook as they were extremely shocked. True deity Jiang is right. Listening to you is better than reading books for 10 years. Li Wuji slapped his thigh and sighed. No wonder he was able to promote the Tianqing school to the top in the world in less than 5 years. Yi Karen, Lady Wu, and even Fairy Luo Mei were also impressed by Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was powerful and it was important for him to master the cultivation methods. However, his broad vision, broad-mindedness, and deep insight in the construction of the sect were also indispensable. With this cultivation method, Ming Rui's cultivation level skyrocketed. She formed the golden core in 100 years. In the next few hundred years, she made great progress and reached the peak of the golden core level at a record-breaking speed. She is only one step away from the nascent soul level. Seeing that Jiang Tian didn't say anything else, Fairy Luo Mei continued. She has never been defeated in the cultivation competitions of the Changshan sect. She rose through the ranks step by step, from an outer sect servant, to an inner sect disciple, to an elite disciple, to a personal disciple, to a hall master, to an elder, and finally to the position of sect leader. 200 years ago, when she became an elder, she single-handedly swept through more than a dozen sects in the northern region, including the beast-controlling sect, the Windblade City, the Eternal River sect, and so on, within 3 days. Even though these were only ancient legends, Fairy Luo Mei's face was still filled with fascination when she spoke of them. Her heart was in turmoil as she said with a trembling voice, in fact, she even single-handedly suppressed 4 Golden Core imperial preceptors from the 4 great nations in the north. From then on, the Changxing sect's religious power and the royal power of the great country's secular king became the supreme ruler of the northern region. She subdued so many countries with her sword and pushed the Changxing sect to become the top sect in the northern region. This woman's peerless demeanor and domineering methods are somewhat similar to fellow cultivator Taichu's. Li Wuji exclaimed. Yi Karen, Lady Wu, and Tang Linglong were shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. They were definitely the most outstanding people among the younger generation on Earth. But compared to Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changxing sect, they were like grains of light that couldn't compete with the sun and the moon. She suppressed the northern region with a sword and overturned the royal power of the mortal world, controlling billions of territories. How domineering was this? What kind of amazing talent was this? What kind of peerless elegance was this? Ming Rui's power is terrifying and earth-shattering. She's the top cultivator in the northern region and the 5th overlord in West Earth. She's comparable to the Golden Rock Temple's Buddha. Fan Luomei was so anxious that her face turned pale. She was already speaking incoherently. Her power and cultivation arts are far beyond our imagination. Rumor has it that she's only half a step away from the nascent soul level. She can break through at any time during the battle. Cultivator Taichu, do you really want to die? If you go, you only have a 1 in a billion chance of winning. Fan Luomei's expression was solemn. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worry as she spoke earnestly. Chapter 11:19. Fan Luomei was not the only one who was worried. In fact, Mao Bohu and his daughter, Fan Wantao, and Fan Xiuzhu all felt that Ming Rui was too powerful after hearing about her deeds. It was too risky for Jiang Tian to go straight in. Senior Absolute Primordium, since your identity hasn't been exposed yet, why don't you endure hardships as a personal disciple and do your best for Ming Rui? I think you'll definitely be able to obtain Ming Rui's trust in 3 to 5 years. Fan Xiuzhu made a throat-slitting gesture, which meant that he was waiting for an opportunity to assassinate her. In fact, with Fairy Luomei's protection, we can kill the current Mo family of the Cloud Mist Country and replace them. Then, we can use the Cloud Mist Country as our foundation to recruit soldiers and buy horses. We can also form an alliance with other peerless sects. In 10 or 20 years, we might be able to suppress the Changxing sect. Fan Wantao also had his own idea. He wanted to start with the secular imperial power to establish a foundation and destroy the Changxing sect. Don't worry. She's just a little girl who practices an evil cultivation method. She might not be my match. Jiang Tian smiled and didn't take it to heart at all. Ming Rui's strength was obvious to everyone. The more they studied Ming Rui's information, the more frightened they were. She was a peerless sect master who had dedicated her life to cultivation and pursued the peak of cultivation. She had revitalized the Changxing sect with her own strength. She could be said to be a great talent and bold vision. There were even rumors that she had secretly fought with the sect masters of the Tingyu Tower, the Sect of Fire, and the Hehuan sect, and they were evenly matched. That was too terrifying. This proved that Ming Rui still had a trump card that no one knew about. It was even possible that she could sublimate and break through during the battle. However, Jiang Tian was like an arrow on the bow. He had to shoot. Now, Jiang Tian had to find the spiritual qi recovery seed to enrich Qing'er and his baby daughter's physiques and save their lives. In the future, Jiang Tian still had to find earth element and other heavenly treasures to form a divine-grade golden core, which would lay a solid foundation for the possible invasion of the ruins of deities and the multidimensional worlds. Even further in the future, 1,000 years or even 100 years later, the entire Milky Way, including the multidimensional worlds, would usher in an apocalyptic disaster and be turned into a vacuum of nothingness. Jiang Tian had to change the course of human civilization and open up a new path for civilization. He had to realize the advancement of technology and cultivation at the same time and achieve a great leap forward for civilization. Only in this way could the human civilization on Earth and the other multidimensional worlds have a chance to survive and develop. Since fellow Taoist Grand Primordium insists, I naturally have to support you. However, he had to be careful. If we don't have the confidence to win, let's escape from the Changxing denomination. Seeing how relaxed Jiang Tian was, Fairy Luo Mei's pretty face turned grave. She sighed softly and became even more uneasy and worried. No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he would only stop at foundation establishment. He was already a genius who could exert the combat power of a golden core cultivator. How could he fight with a cultivator of the nascent soul level head-on? However, Fan Luo Mei had already made a soul-swallowing contract with Jiang Tian. She had secretly tried to destroy the soul-swallowing fiends several times and even activated the divine sense of the deity bone in her forehead, but to no avail. Now it seemed that she had already boarded Jiang Tian's pirate ship and had no better choice. After discussing some more details, everyone left with their own thoughts. Brother Bohu, I'll take Red Butterfly and Billion to the Changxing denomination tomorrow. After returning to the Mao family, Jiang Tian smiled and said, Don't worry, Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly will not be in any danger. Even if it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I will protect her and bring her back in one piece. There was a trace of reluctance and worry in Mao Bohu's eyes. In the end, he heaved a long sigh and bowed. Senior Grand Primordium, if it weren't for you, Red Butterfly and the entire Mao family would have been doomed to be homeless and even destroyed. With your help, at least we still have a glimmer of hope. No matter what the result is, I have to thank you. No need to thank me. I have one more thing to ask for your help. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Senior Grand Primordium, please speak. Mao Bohu said respectfully. Fan Luo Mei has already issued a secret order. All the major cities and sects in the Yunlan nation are to stop pursuing the Yan Huang tribe. Jiang Tian said. But I'm still worried. After all, the massacre of the Yan Huang tribe was the order of the Changxing denomination's leader. There might also be sects and cavalry from other countries coming to the Yunlan nation to hunt down the Yan Huang tribe. This is not something that Fan Luo Mei can control. Don't worry. Mao Bohu gritted his teeth and said passionately. I have 1,000 personal guards under me, and they are all loyal to me. I will lead them to rescue the Yan Huang tribe. Maolin City will also open the doors to the Yan Huang tribe and build a refugee camp. Do you know what the consequences will be if the upper echelons of the Changxing denomination find out? Jiang Tian asked with a smile. I know. Annihilation of the entire sect, not even a chicken or dog. But so what? Mao Bohu said with a determined look. I'll give you these 1,000 protective jade talismans. They can defend against Foundation establishment experts. Jiang Tian took out many protective jade talismans and nodded satisfactorily. Brother Bohu, although your cultivation level is not as high as mine, I admire your courage, decisiveness, and loyalty. After this matter is resolved, I will not treat you unfairly. Fellow Grand Primordium, I'm fighting alongside you because I admire your pursuit and ideals, not because of benefits. Mao Bohu said with a smile. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and said, Red Butterfly, keep your father company. After which, he left. Big brother Jiang, have a good rest. Mao Hongdai stood there, waving her hand until Jiang Tian's figure disappeared. Then she slowly retracted her hand. At this time, thinking of her anxiety at the banquet, Mao Hongdia's eyes were a little lost. Especially when she saw Fairy Luo Mei taking care of Jiang Tian, she even felt a little jealous. Could it be that I've fallen for big brother Jiang? She had heard that he was a married man. The little girl's mind was in a mess. The next morning, Fairy Luo Mei and Fan Shouju arrived early in the morning with 2 carriages. Fairy Luo Mei brought the guard and candidate disciple uniforms of the Changshan sect for Jiang Tian and the others to change into. This operation. Jiang Tian was the candidate disciple chosen by Fairy Luo Mei and the others entered the Changshan sect as guards. Jiang Tian planned to directly kill the sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, and change the world from top to bottom. After changing, Jiang Tian and the others took Mao Hongdai and Mao Bilian to the carriages. The 2 carriages rose into the sky. One of them was for Fairy Luo Mei and Jiang Tian. The other one was for Mao Bilian, Fan Shouju, the sacred children, the saintesses, and the guards. The carriage surged with auspicious splendor as it rose into the sky. The white swan flapped its wings and soared into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it had flown several kilometers away from the city lord manor. Everyone saw that Mao Bohu was still standing in the same place, waving at them with a worried face. The parents of the other sacred children and saintesses were overjoyed and cheered. They were so excited that tears were streaming down their faces. Only a few people know the truth of body possession like Mao Bohu. Most people think that their children have become immortals after being chosen as sacred children and saintesses and joining the Changshan sect. Fairy Luo Mei looked away and smiled bitterly. Don't you have a conscience for deceiving mortals and taking their bodies? Tang Linglong asked angrily. Sigh, if I knew that the Changshan sect was like this, I wouldn't have joined. But once I join, I won't have the chance to choose again. Fairy Luo Mei looked ashamed and sighed. The Changshan sect has strict rules. There are many disciples and believers in the sect and their intelligence network is very powerful. If you want to leave, you will die. Once you join the Changshan sect, you will lose your conscience. People with a conscience can't live in the Changshan sect. Tang Linglong's eyes were burning with fury. She gritted her teeth and said coldly, when we get to the Changshan sect, I'll kill them all. Chapter 11:20. Soon, they left lush forest city. The white swan carriage was very fast, covering 1,000 miles in a day. Fairy Luo Mei did not stop at any of the cities they passed. They were already out of the Cloud Mist Kingdom in the evening. Senior Grand Primordium, this is Skylight Kingdom. Past Skylight Kingdom is Longevity Mountain. The Longevity sect is on Longevity Mountain. Fairy Luo Mei said. As soon as they entered Skylight Kingdom, Jiang Tian found that the spiritual qi here was thicker, and the city was more prosperous. The sun set, and the stars filled the sky. The white swan flapped its wings, and the carriage took to the skies. It was like a rainbow, crossing mountains and rivers, traveling through the night. Suddenly, Jiang Tian's immortal perception sensed shouts. He raised a hand. Wait! The white swan flew 1,000 meters in the air, and looked down. In the forest, a small team of cultivators rode on spiritual beasts, holding long knives and torches. They were chasing a group of yellow-skinned, black-eyed Yan Huang tribe members. Kill! Kill all the Yan Huang tribe members. Kill all these ants. They must be Kang Teichu's spies here. Carry out the cleansing policy. Leave no one alive. Kill them all. The small team of cultivators was very fast. 3 foundation establishment experts led the way, and the rest were qi refining experts. They were very fast, and the spiritual beasts were hundreds of meters away. Their scimitars slashed, and blood flowed. Screams stopped abruptly, and heads flew. Under their pursuit, thousands of Yan Huang tribe members fled like stray dogs, crying for their parents. It was a wretched sight. In the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, a dozen cultivators had the Yan Huang tribe members surrounded. The Yan Huang tribe members were shaking in fear, completely defenseless. They were lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The leader, a dark-faced foundation establishment cultivator, said happily, "Don't kill them. These people will be good food for the longevity sect." It was just that the harvest this time wasn't too good. I wonder if the immortals will be angry. The cultivators took out ropes, tying their hands behind their backs, holding them like animals. Yellow Valley is the name of the Yan Huang tribe here. The Changshan denomination and the nearby cultivation sects treated them as food. Attacking Huanggu means kidnapping these Yan Huang tribe members. Mao Hongdai said with a frown, her eyes burning with anger. Jiang Tian frowned and glared at Fairy Luo Mei, but he didn't say anything. Senior Grand Primordium, you should know that I have already ordered all the major cities and sects of the Cloud Mist Nation to stop pursuing the Yan Huang tribe. When she met Jiang Tian's cold gaze, Fairy Luo Mei's body trembled uncontrollably. Her face was pale, and she lowered her head. These people are not my subordinates. This is not my territory. They are not from the Changshan sect either. Since when did these Huaxia people get to bully us? Tang Linglong was filled with righteous indignation. She gritted her teeth and her right hand, which was holding the blazing bone sword case, trembled non-stop. On Earth, Huaxia was already one of the largest countries and the largest economy in the world. Even the United States did not dare to act rashly now. The people of Huaxia were full of self-confidence. They loved their country and their home. They were united and worked hard for the road to prosperity. But they did not expect that in this world, their own people would be bullied like animals. Another curly-haired foundation establishment leader on the mountain said, although there are not many yellow valleys, there are a few female yellow valleys who are quite pretty. They are fair, smooth, and full of life. I think the immortals of the Changshan denomination will like them. They can be female slaves or something. Maybe the immortals will be happy and give us a lot of rewards. Maybe they will even give us life-prolonging cultivation methods. The black-faced foundation establishment cultivator shook his head and said, it's still too little. I think we should attack the Yellow Valleys again in a month. Another foundation establishment leader said gloomily, it's a pity that these Yellow Valleys are very smart. When they heard the news, they ran away. If we want to attack the Yellow Valleys again, we have to wait for another month until they let down their guard. Hearing this, Jiang Tian's face turned cold. He said coldly, Linglong, go down and kill them. Yes. Tang Linglong, who was already full of killing intent, stepped on the flying sword and floated down. Li Wuji was uneasy. He forced a smile and said, Tai Chu, why do you have to make trouble? If we are exposed in advance, the plan to kill the Changshan denomination's leader may be delayed. Human life is greater than the sky. Jiang Tian said calmly. Yi Karen and Lady Wu did not say a word. They opened the door of the carriage and jumped down. Li Wuji was embarrassed. Even Fan Xiuzhu and Mao Hongdai jumped down. All of a sudden. At the foot of the mountain, a Yan Huang woman was holding a baby in her arms and crying. Good baby, don't cry. The woman was anxious in her heart, but her face was full of love as she gently coaxed him. Son, are you hungry? Drink milk. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Mother is here. This woman was speaking Chinese, which Jiang Tian was most familiar with. In this world, most of the people were ancient Indians. They were the mainstream. Jiang Tian and the others had been speaking ancient Sanskrit all this time, and they were also listening to ancient Sanskrit. This was the first time Jiang Tian and the others had heard Chinese since coming to this world. Cry, what are you crying for? You're wailing. A cultivator was annoyed. He grabbed the child and threw him to the ground. The child screamed, bleeding from his orifices. He twitched violently and died. Cry, cry, cry. You only know how to cry. So annoying. The murderous cultivator was not satisfied. He stomped down, and the baby's intestines burst. Son. My son. Why did you kill him? He was just a child. The Yan Huang woman suddenly screamed. She rushed over and hugged the corpse of the child, kissing and caressing it. Yellow-skinned monkey, so weak. You only know how to cry. This little girl is crying like a pear blossom in the rain. She's still breastfeeding. Her butt is big and round. Quite tempting. Let me have a go. The Yan Huang people are like pigs and dogs. Even the brothels don't want them. Even if they do, they won't have any customers. You actually went to bed a pig. Don't you think it's dirty? The cultivators put their hands on their hips and laughed heartily. They were very happy. Tang Linglong, if another Yan Huang person dies, don't see me again. Seeing this, Jiang Tian's chest burned with anger. His eyes were cold. He had lived 2 lives and had killed many people. He had seen many cruel things, but this was the first time he had seen someone kill a baby for fun. However, Tang Linglong and the others had already gone down. Jiang Tian wanted to train them, so he did not do anything. Actually, Tang Linglong already hated this group of people to the core. Now that they had killed people and caused her to be reprimanded by her master, she was even more annoyed. She was simply fuming with rage and smoke was coming out of her 7 orifices. They don't have a chance. Tang Linglong roared. She slapped the blazing spine sword case at her waist, and the blazing bone swords burst forth. Chi! Chi! Numerous bone swords rained down from the sky, containing the power of flames. The light was blazing, and the temperature was 10,000 degrees Celsius, instantly piercing through 23 cultivators. Kacha! None of the 20-odd cultivators could withstand it. They died a violent death, turning to ash. How dare you! Huang Gu is less than an ant, and you dare to act rashly. Seeing Tang Linglong attack, the dark-faced cultivator was enraged. He roared, his vital qi exploding. They're wearing the uniform of the longevity sect. Immortals, we are. One of the cultivators exclaimed, wanting to explain. Immortals of the longevity sect, your disciple is the deputy sect leader of the longevity sect. We are here on the orders of the Skylight Kingdom's special envoy. The dark-faced cultivator also noticed this and was stunned. He gathered his vital qi but didn't release it. Suddenly, the 2 shiny blades on his back slashed horizontally and vertically. Waves of blood gushed out. The body of the dark-faced Foundation Establishment cultivator fell to the ground in pieces. Lady Wu walked out, covered in blood. She stepped on his head and leaped out, her 2 blades sweeping, and flew towards another Foundation Establishment cultivator. 3 minutes later. Dozens of cultivators of the longevity sect were all killed by Tang Linglong and the others. The ground was littered with corpses. You're from the Yan Huang tribe. Why did you join the longevity sect and save us? A fleeing Yan Huang tribe elder came forward and bowed respectfully to the 3 of them. He couldn't believe it. Run! Run to the Cloud Mist Kingdom, and go to Maolin City. Take this token, and no one will kill you. But don't tell anyone about what happened today. Fairy Luo Mei said gently as she landed and handed them a token. Understood, understood, this old man understands. Thank you, fairies, for saving us. The elder was deeply grateful and quickly kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. Fairy Luo Mei was shocked and quickly helped him up. Don't kneel. Tang Linglong put away the blazing bone sword and shouted, the longevity sect isn't made up of fairies and immortals. You aren't Huanggu blood food. They aren't worth your kneeling. We aren't worth your kneeling. This group of Yan Huang tribe members was anxious and didn't dare to answer. You can go now. Don't worry. Very soon, no one in this world will be able to bully you. Yi Karen's pretty face was as calm as a lake, but her heart was like thunder that kept exploding. She couldn't keep calm anymore. In fact, before this, the disciples of the Kunlun sect had always looked down on Kang Te-chu and the whole Tianqing school. Shouldn't cultivators live in seclusion in the famous mountains and rivers, like immortals, eating the wind and drinking the dew, transcending the mortal world and living in peace and tranquility? They weren't like Jiang Taichu, who killed people and annihilated clans at the drop of a hat. He was ferocious, and he sought fame and fortune. He went on expeditions and plundered everywhere, and he repeatedly set off a storm of blood that caused the entire earth to be in chaos and restless. In their eyes, Kang Tae-chu and the Tianqing school were too grassroots. Too worldly. Too tacky. But now, she understood why Jiang Tian was like that. In this world, there were too many unjust things, too many unjust fates, and the strong should raise their eyebrows and unsheath their swords and wipe them out. How could they ignore it? What was the strong? Before this, Yi Karen had been thinking about this question. And now, she had an answer. At least, it was an answer that belonged to her. The real strong didn't look at how strong your cultivation was, how many strong people you defeated, how famous you were, how high your status and power were. But those who dared to fight against the unjust world were the strong. Chapter 11:21. In that instant, Yi Karen's blood was boiling, and she felt a sense of duty and glory. Experts from other realms were not that great after all. As long as you were strong enough, you could kill them all the same. She looked in the direction of the longevity sect, her eyes resolute. This time, I will not only kill these evil cultivators from other realms who dare to bully the Yan Huang tribe, but also destroy the longevity sect. I will cleanse this filthy world, and restore the Yan Huang tribe to their former glory. I will also kill the experts from the ruins of immortality. These Yan Huang tribe members fled towards the misty cloud kingdom in the north. Tang Linglong and the others also boarded the carriage, heading towards Longevity Mountain once more. Jiang Tian raised an eyebrow, saying coldly, "Where does the longevity sect envoy reside?" "In Peach Blossom City." Fairy Luo Mei said fearfully. "Senior Absolute Primordium, are you going to kill them? If that's the case, we might be exposed." "Of course." Jiang Tian laughed. "So what if we are exposed? Ming Rui is just a Jindan cultivator. I can kill her all the same. But I don't want to see the Yan Huang tribe slaughtered by them again. Chased down like pigs and dogs. As the saying goes, a little impatience spoils great plans." Li Wuji's eyes were frantic, and he hurriedly waved his hands. "Dao friend Absolute Primordium, don't lose sight of the big picture for the small. Why should you care about the lives of a few commoners? Senior Absolute Primordium, although the sect leader is said to be at the late Jindan stage, she is no weaker than a nascent soul cultivator." Fairy Luo Mei's face was full of fear. "If you ambush her, your chances of winning are only 50-50. If you face her head-on, your chances are slim. Know your place. Carriage driver. Don't talk nonsense, just drive over." Jiang Tian laughed. Fairy Luo Mei was hit hard by Jiang Tian's words. Her face flushed red, and she urged the White One to fly towards Peach Blossom City. Peach Blossom City was the capital of Skylight Kingdom. It was a huge city, and 10 times larger than Lush Forest City. This place was filled with tall buildings and brightly lit buildings. There was a large population and flourishing businesses. Even though it was late at night, it was still bustling with noise and excitement. The residence of the special envoy of the Changshan sect in Tianlang State was twice the size of the city leader's residence. It occupied an area of 1,000 square meters with continuous palaces and towering towers. The ground was paved with white jade, making it look like a godly realm. At this time, in a hall of the mansion, a young special envoy in a bright yellow robe sat on the stage with a strict aura. He was drinking merrily with the various sects, gang leaders, and officials of Skylight, celebrating his achievement in hunting down the Yan Huang tribe. "Everyone has worked hard. In these 3 months, we have killed 30,000 Yan Huang tribe members and captured 70,000 alive. You have done well. Let this special envoy be rewarded by the sect. I will bestow spirit herbs and spirit medicines to express my gratitude." The special envoy was already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. There were also many disciples of the Changshan sect standing around him. All of them were Foundation establishment cultivators. Any one of them would be able to cause chaos on Earth and frighten the superpowers. There were even 2 Golden Core experts. One of his subordinates took out exquisite jade boxes and distributed them. Everyone was in high spirits. It's the resurrection grass. I heard that if you take it when your life is in danger, you can extend your lifespan by 10 years. Ha, those Yan Huang tribe members couldn't even withstand a single blow. This is easy money. Yeah, we'll kill another 10,000 Yan Huang tribe members to repay the special envoy's reward. Everyone was drunk to the point their eyes were hazy, and they were extremely excited. They were filled with lofty sentiments as they patted their chests one after another to express their loyalty. I heard that Kang Tae-chu from Earth is also a Yan Huang tribe member. He should be about the same. Weak. That's right. They relied on their cannons and immortal treasures to defeat the dragon-slamming monk and the others. If that little swine dares to come to this world, there is no need for the special envoy to act. I will teach him a lesson and stomp him under my feet. It was unknown which sect master mentioned Jiang Taichu, but immediately, everyone revealed looks of disdain and commented on him as if he was an ant. At this moment, a black soul devourer appeared above everyone's heads. It was swirling around like a dark cloud. The soul devourer silently split into 2 into 4 into 8. More and more of them appeared. There were a total of 120 people in the hall. In the blink of an eye, the soul devourer had split into 120 strands of soul devourer. Then, with a whoosh, it drilled into the minds of these people. What is this? Is it devouring my immortal consciousness? The special envoy of the Changshan sect suddenly trembled and twitched. He pulled his hair in pain and rolled on the ground. His eyes turned white. Soon, his eyes suddenly turned completely black. His pupils were like black crystals, incomparably demonic and evil. Kill! He suddenly stood up. His eyes turned vicious as he slashed at the people around him. At the same time, the other powerhouses didn't say anything and attacked the others in unison as if they had gone mad. Bang! Bang! Violent sounds of collisions rang out, and the hall was filled with horrifying sounds of fighting. There were sharp sounds of weapons cutting flesh, explosions of divine arts, and miserable shrieks. Blood splattered on the window paper like red plum blossoms. Heads and limbs flew everywhere and fell outside the door. This place instantly turned into hell. After about 10 minutes, the place was quiet again. Only the special envoy was left standing on the blood-stained steps. Special envoy, how did this happen? A guard stuck his head out and walked in. He was scared out of his wits and asked in a panic. Chi! His head was pierced by a long saber and his body was brought in. Pass down my order. All sects and forces in Skylight Nation are to stop hunting the Yan Huang tribe. The special envoy walked out, covered in blood. His black crystal eyes were cold and emotionless. Yes. Special envoy. A guard responded from afar in the darkness. Streaks of black soul devourers floated out from the heads of the corpses in the hall, shooting towards the treasure carriage where Jiang Tian was in the depths of the clouds. The golden lake in Jiang Tian's forehead flashed and collected the soul devourers. He said calmly, "Let's go. Anyone who disturbs the pursuit of Yan Huang tribe members will be killed without mercy." Yes. Tang Linglong and the others answered in unison. Is the special envoy controlled by Senior Absolute Primordium's soul devourers? He's like a walking corpse. The treasured carriage left the place without a sound. Fairy Luo Mei was scared out of her wits, her face as pale as paper. Once controlled, she would not recognize anyone and was completely under Jiang Tian's control. This was a fate worse than death. When Jiang Tian and the others were rushing towards the Longevity sect, rescuing the Yan Huang tribe along the way. Longevity Mountain, Longevity sect. Inside a majestic palace. What? Beast Thunder is dead? Who did it? Was it that little bastard Prince Mo Yang? A tall old man with a domineering aura slowly opened his eyes, and a trace of anger appeared on his face. As he opened his eyes, bolts of lightning appeared in the void and a surge of bloodthirsty aura flowed out. Even if Crown Prince Mo Yang could suppress Shou Lei, he wouldn't dare to kill him. Isn't he afraid that I, Beast Thunder, will destroy the Cloud Mist Nation with one strike? The old man's anger burned the sky. His angry roar was like rolling thunder, and a mountain-like pressure descended. It shocked the deacons around him to the point that their expressions changed drastically and their bodies were on the verge of collapsing. These deacons were all wearing the golden uniform of the longevity sect, which proved that they were inner sect elites. Their cultivation levels were all in the later stages of the Foundation establishment realm, and there were even a few hall masters in the early and middle stages of the Golden Core realm. In the Earth world, they could defeat armies, shock the big countries, and control a country or a sect. Even in the mortal kingdoms and cities of the West Earth world, they could take on important positions such as city lords or state preceptors. They could laugh at the nobles and had a revered status. But at this moment, they bowed slightly and stood around the elder. They did not even dare to breathe loudly, as if they were looking at a god. Elder Ruhai, please. The killer was not Prince Mo Yang, but a newly rising expert in Maolin City of the Cloud Mist Nation. His name is Star Butcher. The leading deacon was in the early stages of the Golden Core realm, but he was silent and cautious. He looked at the elder as if he was looking at a god. Beast Thunder. The former sect leader of the Beast Control sect, one of the 4 guest elders of the Longevity sect, was in the late stages of the Golden Core realm. He was a veteran Golden Core realm cultivator with great strength. But he could control the blood essence of mutated beasts. Once he activated it, the mutated beasts were like thousands of soldiers and horses. His strength was comparable to a nascent soul realm cultivator. In the past, Beast Thunder was on par with the Longevity sect leader, Ming Rui. Chapter 1122. However, 200 years ago, Ming Rui's cultivation had improved greatly. He swept across the north with his sword, defeated Shou Ruhai, and suppressed the beast-controlling sect. In order to preserve the descendants of the beast-controlling sect, Shou Ruhai had no choice but to submit to the Longevity sect's leader and join the Longevity sect. However, even after joining the Longevity sect, his reputation did not diminish at all. A Golden Core expert was someone who could establish a sect. Moreover, he was a veteran Golden Core expert. In the Longevity sect, in the north, among the many experts, he could be ranked in the top 5, or even the top 3. And he was also the biggest backer of the beast-controlling sect. Otherwise, how would Shou Ruhai dare to compete with Yunlan Nation's Crown Prince Mo Yang and participate in the Golden Lotus Platform's preaching ceremony? How could a martial arts sect like the beast-controlling sect survive and develop for so long under the imperial power? Maolin City. What kind of orthodoxy is there? How could someone kill Shou Lei, who was at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm? Could it be an expert from the residence of Prodigy? Shou Ruhai was puzzled and angry. It's not the residence of Prodigy. This person not only killed Shou Lei, but also killed many people, including Crown Prince Mo Yang's subordinate, Yun Yi. Moreover, according to my investigation, he is a Yan Huang tribesman. The deacon's face was filled with panic as he trembled. A veteran Golden Core expert and a guest elder of the Longevity sect. What kind of person was he? He was like a dragon from the 9 heavens. Once angered, blood would flow for 1,000 miles. With one palm, he could crush a city. Now that Shou Ruhai was furious, killing an early Golden Core expert like him would be like crushing an ant. The deacon could not help but feel uneasy. Yan Huang tribesmen. Just a bunch of weaklings. Without an expert, how could he reach the Foundation establishment realm? Shou Ruhai squinted his eyes and said fiercely. Moreover, the Longevity sect has already announced the order to exterminate the Yan Huang tribesmen. Everyone has the right to kill him. How could Fairy Luo Mei, who is in charge of the personal disciple selection, let him go? She should swarm him and chop him into pieces. Not only did Fairy Luo Mei not kill him, she even listed him as a candidate for personal disciple and sent him to the sect. The deacon said anxiously. What? Hearing this, Shou Ruhai couldn't believe his ears. Fan Luo Mei, this little girl, used to bow to me when she saw me. She called me Senior and Lord Elder, like a little bitch seeing her master. I didn't expect that she would dare to do such a thing for me. Does she think that I, as a guest elder, am useless? Is there no way to kill her? Shou Ruhai roared angrily. The temple, which could withstand the explosive attack of a Golden Core Realm Cultivator, almost exploded. Many Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivators turned pale from the shock. Lord Elder, as long as you give the order, I'll immediately lead a group of experts to intercept and kill them. Let Xing Tu and Fan Luomei become wandering ghosts. A Hall Master of the Middle Stage Gold Core Hall Master stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Every organization was divided into factions. This Hall Master's name was Meng Fan, and he was the backbone of Beast Rushai's faction. No. Shou Ruhai waved his hand. His bloodthirsty eyes shot out a fierce killing intent, like a prehistoric beast that was about to devour its prey. He gnashed his teeth and said in a cold voice, the Beast family and the Beast Trainer sect spent decades of effort and countless heavenly treasures to nurture my grandson to the perfected Foundation Establishment realm and reach the Golden Core realm. But this Xing Tu, a nobody from the Yan Huang country, dared to kill my grandson. I'll wait for him to come to the sect. I want to see him cut into pieces with my own eyes. I'll extract his soul and burn it 10,000 times. By the way, help me contact Elder Feng Nushan. Wasn't his descendant, Feng Batian, also killed by this Xing Tu? Shou Ruhai gradually calmed down. He snorted and said disdainfully, Guest elders, I'd like to see how Xing Tu and Fan Luomei can withstand the pressure of 2 mountains. I'd like to see how they can withstand my anger. Yes. The deacons' faces turned cold, and they hurriedly agreed. They thought to themselves, this Star Butcher is really unlucky. He thought that joining the Changshan sect was a great blessing, but he didn't know that the Changshan sect would be his burial ground. Some people were mocking him. Although this Xing Tu was strong, he was probably a frog at the bottom of a well and knew nothing about the Changshan sect. Although the disciple selection was said to be a battle of life and death, everyone would ask about the opponent's background. If the opponent had a great trump card and you killed him, his backer would come for revenge. Then you would be dead. Especially when Shou Lei and Feng Batian had great trump cards. They were the former sect masters, veteran Golden Core cultivators, and now guest elders. Most likely, he would be deader than dead. Even Fairy Luomei would be severely affected by it. Pust. Pust pust pust. Blood splattered, and the screams stopped. Flying swords pierced through their chests. More than 30 cultivators fell to the ground or fell from the flying beasts. The medium-sized sect, amongst the Cloud sect, had sent a small team of over 100 Qi refining and Foundation Establishment cultivators to hunt down the Yan Huang tribe. Many flying swords turned into silver needles and fell into Jiang Tian's sky-devouring demonic gourd. Jiang Tian sat in the White One treasure carriage, his face as calm as water. He looked at the spiritual Qi recovery seed he had taken from the stellar sky domain and asked, Fan Luomei, is what you said true? How would I dare to lie? There are indeed 4 spiritual Qi recovery seeds similar to Senior Tai Chu's in the Changshan sect's treasure vault. Fairy Luomei said in a panic, but the aura seems to be thicker and more powerful. Also, it's much bigger. Before I became the special envoy, I was the guardian of the treasure vault for 3 years. I saw it with my own eyes. If it's true, you have contributed greatly. I'll help you become an elder later. Jiang Tian put away the spiritual Qi recovery seed and smiled. It's really a case of searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. If it's really as big as you said, it's very likely to be a shocking seed. It's enough for me to set up the 9 Dragons Spirit Attraction Array and destroy the stars. Thank you, Senior Tai Chu. Fan Luomei thanked him sincerely, but there was no joy in her heart. Instead, she felt uneasy. They were nothing more than empty promises. Going to the longevity sect was like going to his death. A few days later, Jiang Tian and the others arrived at the Longevity Mountain, the Changshan sect. Immortal mountains floated in the air, covering a radius of 100 miles. Above the immortal mountain, clouds were rising and rosy, a myriad of auspicious colors, and a myriad of rays of multicolored light. Numerous exquisitely shaped palaces were concealed within it. The waterfall cascaded down like a white waterfall, and the spirit spring tinkled as it flowed past the bluestones. Giant trees towered into the sky, ancient vines coiled like dragons, and orchids swayed in the wind. Accompanied by a riot of falling petals, this place could be said to be extraordinary, tranquil, and peaceful. It was like a paradise of immortals. The magnificent palaces were scattered in picturesque disorder, emitting endless divine light. The array waves were strong enough to withstand the attacks of Foundation establishment cultivators. Beams of divine light flashed across the sky, which were the disciples of the sect. Each beam of divine light represented a Foundation establishment cultivator. There were hundreds of miles of immortal mountains, palaces, and countless disciples. There were countless overlords, far more than any sect on Earth. It was indeed the fifth most powerful sect in the West Earth world. How majestic! Li Wuji took a deep breath and revealed an envious expression. Even though they were still under the immortal mountains, the spirit chi was 10 times denser than that of the Kunlun sect. We're finally here, at the Changshan sect. A cold smile appeared on Jiang Tian's face. A cold light flashed in his eyes like a peerless heavenly sword. This time, I'll trample Ming Rui and the entire Changshan sect under my feet. I'll declare to Ming Rui, the northern region, and the entire West Earth world that the Yan Huang people are not food for them to bully. Chapter 1123. Jiang Tian and the rest arrived at the foot of the Longevity Mountain in a carriage. Is Fairy Luomei back? Suddenly, a 5-colored rainbow formed a bridge and descended from the top of the mountain. It stretched for 10 miles and stopped in front of Jiang Tian and the rest. On the rainbow stood a young cultivator with a cold and gloomy face. He clasped his fists and bowed. This person looked to be in his 30s, but his eyes were full of vicissitudes of life. He had already reached the early golden core stage. This is the guard captain of the Changshan sect, Old Dragon Zhe. He is quite close to me. Don't be nervous. Seeing Li Wuji sweating, Fairy Luomei sent a message to him with her spiritual consciousness. She walked up and smiled. I wish Elder Long Wei a long and prosperous life. Luomei has brought back 13 holy children and holy daughters and a candidate disciple, Xing Tu. There are also a few inner and outer disciples. The candidate disciple, Xing Tu, is quite good. He has the combat power of an early golden core stage. She introduced Jiang Tian and praised him. He seems to be from the Yan Huang tribe. Don't you know that our sect never accepts disciples from the Yan Huang tribe? Long Zhe glanced at Jiang Tian with disdain. Then he looked at Fairy Luomei and said awkwardly, Fairy Luomei, I'm sorry. I can't let him in. Even if he gets past me, the sect leader will punish him when he finds out. Brother Long, we have been friends for so many years. Please do me a favor. I will explain to the sect leader. I have also gained a few things from this tour of the Yunnan country. Fairy Luomei's beautiful eyes looked at him. She smiled coquettishly and quietly handed over a spirit treasure armor. This spiritual treasure was priceless. When activated, it had a huge spiritual power and could withstand dozens of attacks from an expert in the late golden core stage. Fairy Luomei, the sect rules are strict. If the sect leader and the elders know about this, I can't afford to be punished. Long Zhe's eyes flashed with greed. But in the end, he shook his head and refused. An early-stage Jindan like Long Zhe had already transcended the mortal world. He didn't care about money and beautiful women. He didn't even care about a huge city. The only things that could tempt them were life-saving pills, supreme cultivation techniques, or magic tools and spirit treasures. With Longzhe's cultivation level, he was simply invincible on Earth. However, in West Earth, he was not considered a top expert. If he encountered a late-stage golden core, he would be killed in minutes. A superior-grade numinous treasure that could withstand the attacks of a golden core was an irresistible temptation to him. However, he actually refused. At this time, Li Wuji, Yi Karen, and the others looked at each other. It seemed that the rules of the longevity sect were very strict, and the punishment was also very heavy. Don't be anxious, fellow Taoist Xingtu. Let me think of a way to contact the Elder of Impartation. Fairy Luo Mei looked slightly troubled as she looked at Jiang Tian. I'm afraid it's useless to contact him. A hint of disdain appeared on Long Zai's face. He shook his head slightly and said arrogantly, the Yan Huang tribesmen are like ants. The sect will not waste resources on such trash, and the Elder of Impartation will not make an exception. Moreover, those who are not of our race will definitely have different intentions. The sect has been hunting down the Yan Huang tribesmen. If he enters, he might cause a great disaster. Moreover, fellow Taoist Xingtu has offended too many people. Once he enters, he will probably be crushed until nothing is left. He looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and said, Fairy Luo Mei, you're such a big brother. Fairy Luo Mei, you actually called me big brother. I'm just speaking the truth. This fellow Taoist Xingtu has no sense of propriety and has offended too many people. Once he goes in, I'm afraid he'll be completely crushed. Even you will be affected. What he said was the truth, but his eyes were arrogant and disdainful. His attitude was high and mighty, just like a leader facing the common people. No, it should be said that he was a white person looking at a black person. It was very unpleasant. You'd better let me in. Jiang Tian was irritated and his face darkened. He was about to attack and kill his way in. Kiki, is this the Xingtu? How arrogant. Looking at his attitude, he wants to barge into the sect. Suddenly, a mountain-like pressure came from the bottom of the mountain like waves crashing against the shore. A tall red figure with a domineering aura suddenly appeared. Disciple Long Zai greets guest elder, Shou Ruhai. Long Zai was so frightened that his whole body trembled. He quickly went down on one knee and half-knelt before the figure with great respect. Even Fairy Luo Mei's expression changed drastically. She did not dare to be negligent and quickly bowed. Fan Luo Mei, the special envoy of the Changxing sect to the Yunnan nation, greets Senior Shou Ruhai. This figure was only a soul avatar, but it was full of vigor and was very condensed. It was as though it was carved out of red agate and had substance. At the same time, the terrifying pressure was like a mountain, forcing martial demon lady Fan Xiu Zhu and the Mao Hongdai sisters to stagger back. Shou Ruhai, isn't this Shou Lei's grandfather? He's so powerful. It seems that even a soul avatar can crush a gold core realm expert. Mao Bilian's face was as pale as paper. She could not help but vomit. She was extremely shocked and frightened. Shou Ruhai's soul avatar looked down at Jiang Tian as though he was looking at an ant. His blood-red eyes, which were as cold as a beast's, turned a few times and his gaze fell on Jiang Tian. He paused for a moment and then said, Long Zai, I've already told the Elder of Imparting Skills about the Xingtu situation. He is allowed to enter the sect. Yes. Long Zai hurriedly agreed. He glanced at Jiang Tian sympathetically from the corner of his eyes. Kid, do you think Shou Ruhai will let you go after killing Shou Lei? He is a guest elder and has a good relationship with the sect master, Ming Rui. He will definitely have a way to kill you. I told you to leave, but you didn't. Now I'm afraid you won't have the chance to leave even if you want to. Xingtu, I've heard a lot about you. Shou Ruhai's soul avatar laughed strangely. He ground his molars and said in a cold voice, I've prepared a gift for you. Enjoy it. I'm just afraid that your teeth are not good and will fall out. Oh, thank you, Elder Ruhai. Jiang Tian's face was calm. He sneered and said, I didn't expect Elder Ruhai to be so magnanimous after I killed your grandson. However, it's no wonder. I only used 2 moves to kill that useless grandson of yours. He left peacefully, and the fire burned brightly. Xingtu. Don't be so arrogant. Shou Ruhai's soul avatar roared angrily. You think this old man can't do anything to you? This old man will play you to death, then detain your soul avatar and use beasts to bite you 10,000 times. And everyone here. Scram! You dare to call yourself an old man in front of me? Old man. Without waiting for him to finish his nonsense, Jiang Tian stepped into the air. Vermilion bird true light fire gushed out from the bottom of his feet and instantly burned Shou Ruhai's soul avatar to ashes. Aya! Isn't this Xingtu a little too arrogant? Seeing this, Long Zai's eyes almost popped out. In his eyes, Jiang Tian was already a dead man. You actually dared to attack Shou Ruhai's soul avatar and scold him. What awaits you is endless revenge. This senior Xingtu is indeed a talented person, but he's too sharp. He doesn't know the principle of hiding his strength and protecting himself. Even Mao Billion sighed. She was unwilling to talk to Jiang Tian. She took a few steps back and hid far away, as if she wanted to draw a line with Jiang Tian. Chapter 1124. Until now, Mao Billion still didn't know that Jiang Tian's real plan was to kill the longevity sect master. She didn't even know Jiang Tian's true identity. It couldn't be helped. A little girl like her was too weak. If she knew the truth, she would probably pee in her pants. Fan Luomei opened her mouth a few times and wanted to say something. But in the end, she could only sigh and say nothing. Now that Jiang Taichu was full of lice, he was no longer afraid of the itch. Anyway, he had already offended Shou Ruhai by killing Shou Lei, and there would be a fierce battle sooner or later. Was there a need to feign civility now? Was there any use in feigning civility? Ignoring everyone's shocked gazes, Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and stepped onto the divine rainbow leisurely. The others also came back to their senses and followed. The godly rainbow swept across the sky as Jiang Tian and the others rode on the clouds. The white clouds, mountains, and other sceneries flashed past their eyes rapidly. In just a few seconds, Jiang Tian and the others had landed in the 10,000-year mountain. Around them, the palaces were tall and majestic. They were sacred and emitted divine light with a majestic aura, as if they were the residences of immortals. Jiang Tian looked around. In each of the halls, there were elders preaching scriptures and teaching divine abilities and secret techniques. There were also elders investigating matters and verifying law enforcement. In the depths of the palace, there were guest elders. Their origins were mysterious, and their auras were gloomy. They were very low-key. The entire great sect seemed to be operating in an orderly manner. Their operations were smooth, and they were filled with talents. One by one, the disciples hurriedly passed by. When they saw Fairy Luomei and the others, they bowed and greeted them respectfully. However, Jiang Tian discovered that their eyes were filled with a wild and aggressive look, as if they were wild beasts that wanted to devour people. As the fifth orthodoxy in West Earth, Longevity sect was not as strong as Golden Rock Temple, but it was also extremely terrifying. Most of the disciples were above Foundation establishment and there were tens of thousands of them. The hall masters and elders had a certain status and were basically at the Golden Core realm. Every single one of the numerous disciples was immaculately dressed. Their expressions were solemn and respectful, and their manners were strict. However, they all held their breaths and were extremely careful, not daring to speak loudly. Many of them looked very young, but their eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life. It was unknown how long their lifespans were. These were all experts who had reincarnated once or more. He, Changsheng, Changsheng. In the end, the world still can't see through these two words. Jiang Tian opened his divine sense and used a secret technique. His eyes were focused and a wry smile appeared on his face. He could see that in the sea of consciousness of these reincarnated experts, besides the main soul, there were also a few dim souls that were struggling and wailing silently. His main soul was like a raging inferno, vigorous and powerful. This time, however, his soul was dim and lifeless, like a candle in the wind. It seemed like it would soon be extinguished, but it was unwilling to be annihilated. The Changshan sect's secret art of possession was already extraordinary. It could break the iron rule that cultivators could not possess a third body. However, it was still not a top-notch possession technique. It could not be compared to something as heaven-defying as the soul devourer. The more the believers tried to possess someone, the more difficult it would be to possess someone else's body. Even then, they would not be able to completely strip the original soul from the body. These secondary souls belonged to the bodies that had been possessed time and time again. They were unwilling to be annihilated, so they fought with the main soul for the body and complained about their atrocities. As a special envoy of a kingdom, Fairy Luo Mei's status in the sect was only inferior to the sect master, grand elder, vice sect master, elder, and hall master. She had her own hall and courtyard, and it was used as a place of residence and cultivation. It was called Luo Mei Courtyard. There were also hundreds of servants, whose status was higher than that of a princess of a country. They immediately settled down and waited for the sect master of the Changshan sect. As soon as Jiang Tian settled down, he heard the violent sounds of fighting in the sky. He was slightly startled and looked up. The two Foundation establishment cultivators leapt as if they were flying and clashed with each other. Sometimes they would leap into the clouds, and sometimes they would descend to the bottom of the valley. Their attacks were swift and fierce, and their moves were ever-changing. Sometimes they fought in close quarters, and sometimes they unleashed their secret arts from afar. They were extremely powerful. 3 seconds later. Whoosh! Bam! One of the cultivators succeeded and cut off his opponent's head with his saber. His divine soul was destroyed and he left with the body. Congratulations, senior brother. You killed your opponent and got the body. Many disciples went forward and congratulated him with a smile. Those are the two disciples. The one who died was known as the Fleeting Shadow Divine Leg. He's very powerful. Fairy Luo Mei walked to Jiang Tian's side with a smile on her face. She looked otherworldly and charming. The disciple who won has been coveting his divine leg for many years and challenged him many times. They've fought many times before and he finally won this time. Coveting his divine leg? Tang Linglong suddenly thought of a possibility. She turned pale and sweat appeared on her forehead. Right. Sister Linglong is right. Fairy Luo Mei said calmly. The Changshan sect is not only good at possession, but also good at healing. They can reattach broken limbs and replace them with limbs and heads. I heard that 300 years ago, a grand elder once gathered the strongest parts of a dozen overlords and replaced them with their heads, limbs, and organs. He finally reached the nascent soul level. After his divine body reached the phenomenal success level, he challenged the Golden Rock Temple's Buddha. They couldn't win for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, he died of exhaustion. I can't believe there's such an evil art in the world. When Tang Linglong heard this, she thought about it carefully and could not help but shudder. That's terrifying. Yi Karen and the martial demon lady's faces also turned pale. They had both fought and killed and their hands were stained with blood. But this was the first time they had heard of such a cruel thing. It was 10 times more terrifying than possession. Li Wuji shook his head and said, "Bastard! Bastard! It's against nature and the laws of heaven. It's unforgivable. Everyone, this is the 3 laws of Changshan." Fairy Luo Mei explained. In the eyes of the Changshan sect, cultivation isn't as simple as meditating. It's not as gentle as swallowing pills and absorbing spirit qi. It's a cruel battle, a fierce clash between iron and blood. Jiang Tian smiled and didn't say anything. His face was calm, but there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Jiang Tian had seen too many of such arts in his previous life. Not to mention grafting the limbs of the same species, Jiang Tian had even seen many humans grafting the limbs, torsos, and organs of beasts and demons to strengthen themselves. In Jiang Tian's eyes, such arts weren't evil or righteous. If they were used to invade and bully the weak, they were evil. If they were used to defend against invaders and maintain peace, they were righteous. Jiang Tian didn't agree with such arts, not because they were cruel and unethical. Morality was too complicated. Jiang Tian didn't like to judge by morality, but by the pros and cons. Jiang Tian didn't agree with such arts because they weren't the strongest. They were even very primitive and had many disadvantages. Cultivators had to be confident, independent and strong. Their Tao heart had to be as firm as a rock, and they couldn't pin their hopes on external objects. Even if they obtained heavenly treasures, they had to refine them into their own true essence or carve them into their own Dharma treasures. In fact, in Jiang Tian's eyes, Dharma treasures were external objects. Jiang Tian didn't like to rely on Dharma treasures and Dharma weapons. Instead, he forged many divine bodies, strengthened his true essence and finally condensed a divine-grade golden core. Jiang Tian's path was to not rely on external objects and not be limited by them. He wanted to strengthen himself and be independent. To forge iron, one had to be strong. Dharma treasures and Dharma weapons could be taken away by others, but the divine body would always be one's. No matter how good a Dharma treasure was, it could only be used at will and be at the realm of controlling. However, Dharma treasures weren't your arms and fingers after all. This kind of cultivation method that allowed one to seize the body of an expert and replace one's own limbs and internal organs obviously meant that one had lost one's Taoist heart that did not rely on external objects and boldly forge ahead. They seemed domineering and invincible, but their bones were filled with despair and inferiority. Their Tao heart had long been shattered. It was fine if they met an ordinary expert, but if they met a top expert, they would be crushed into sand in minutes. On this day, Fairy Luo Mei was very busy. She brought the holy children and holy daughters to the elder compound to report on her work, accept the assessment and rewards, pay respects to the hall masters of each hall, and entertain close friends. Her feet didn't touch the ground at all. However, Jiang Tian was at ease. In this palace, he meditated and cultivated silently. No one disturbed him. That night, Jiang Tian was meditating and cultivating. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar came from outside the door. Outer sect odd job disciple, Feng Ao, challenges candidate direct disciple, Xing Tu. If you have the guts, come out and accept your death. The roar was like rolling thunder, turning into sound waves that smashed down fiercely like heavy cannons. Suddenly, a gust of wind whistled in Luo Mei's courtyard. It was as if a level 18 hurricane had struck. The turbid waves in the pond surged to the sky, and the ground cracked into ravines. The towering trees collapsed into sawdust, the rockery and strange rocks rolled on the ground, and tiles flew everywhere. Chapter 1125. Fan Xiuzhu rushed in and said worriedly, "Senior Star Butcher, don't go out. They don't have good intentions." "No worries. Let's take a look first." Jiang Tian opened his eyes slowly, stood up, and walked out unhurriedly. Tang Linglong, Yi Karen, Li Wuji, and the others quickly followed. In the sky above the fallen plum courtyard, there were already a few experts standing. There were men, women, old, and young, and they were all dressed differently. But all of them were strong and had extraordinary auras. At this time, they were all looking at Jiang Tian with mockery. "Wow! Challenging Star Butcher. This kid just became a candidate for a personal disciple, and he's already being challenged. This is going to be a good show." Outside the courtyard, in the sky, there were hundreds of disciples standing on immortal treasures, looking up excitedly. This time, the entire Changxing sect had selected close to 100 inner sect disciples. But in the northern region, there was only one personal disciple in each country. 4 countries, 4 in total. It could be said that the personal disciples were too eye-catching. Jiang Tian's background was unknown, and he was from the Yan Huang tribe. At the foot of the mountain, he had broken the soul of Shou Ruhai. Each and every one of these pieces of news was shocking, and there was no way to hide it. Everyone had long wanted to see how strong Jiang Tian was and how he could become a personal disciple. "You are Star Butcher." Seeing Jiang Tian come out, a person in the sky stood on the air, looking down on Jiang Tian as if he was looking at an ant. His nose was pointed to the sky, and he was filled with arrogance as he asked in disdain. This person looked to be in his 30s. He was handsome, and his green robes fluttered without wind. His aura was elegant, like a breeze. But in fact, this person's eyes were full of vicissitudes. He was already 300 years old, and his cultivation was strong. He was already at the middle Jindan realm. Such an appearance was merely a reversion to one's youth, and one's appearance would remain forever. Feng Ao. Wind Blade City Deputy City Lord, Middle Jindan Realm Cultivation. Fan Xiuzhu immediately understood. He communicated with Jiang Tian through spiritual awareness, and then with a mocking face, he said loudly, Feng Ao, you were originally the Vice City Lord of Wind Blade City. When did you become an outer court odd job disciple? You're not from the same sect, so naturally, Senior Xing Tu has no obligation to accept your challenge. Although Jiang Tian had killed many golden core cultivators in the backyard of the Fan family, Fan Xiuzhu had not seen it with his own eyes. At this moment, he did not have much confidence in Jiang Tian. Besides, Jiang Tian's goal was to kill the longevity sect's patriarch, Ming Rui. Before that, it was better to keep a low profile. Therefore, he did not wish for Jiang Tian to have another dispute and cause more problems. I've just become the leader of the Outer Sanctum Law Enforcement Team. This is the token. Feng Ao took out a token and smiled sinisterly. The position of an inner disciple is higher than that of an outer disciple. According to the rules of the longevity sect, I am certainly qualified to challenge the leader's personal disciple. Hearing this, everyone smiled and began to discuss. The Feng clan is indeed shameless. In order to avenge Feng Beishan's death, they actually let the vice city lord of a big city, a middle-stage golden core cultivator, join the outer sanctum so that he is qualified to challenge Xing Tu. Yes, even if Xing Tu defeated Crown Prince Mo Yang and many other powerful cultivators, I'm afraid he is only an early-stage golden core cultivator, right? But this Feng Ao is a middle-stage golden core cultivator. Isn't this bullying? Many people said mockingly. The longevity sect encouraged each other to challenge each other. However, there was a rule that only those with lower positions could challenge those with higher positions. For example, an outer court disciple could challenge an inner court disciple, an ordinary inner court disciple could challenge an inner court elite disciple could challenge a personal disciple could challenge a hall leader or an elder, and so on. Golden core cultivators were like deities. They could be called perfected immortals. In the entire northern region, there were only a few dozen of them. In a country, there were only a few of them. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Every golden core perfected immortal controlled a country, a sect, or the leader of a clan. They had great power, enjoyed the worship of billions of people and lived for almost 1,000 years. The Feng family obviously wanted Jiang Tian to die, or to force Jiang Tian out of the longevity sect. They didn't hesitate to let a middle-stage golden core vice city lord join the outer sanctum, so that he was qualified to challenge Jiang Tian. No. I sense that Xing Tu is only at the 4th level of the foundation establishment level. Maybe he has some Dharma treasures or elixirs that can quickly increase his combat power. But if he meets such an experienced middle-stage golden core cultivator, I'm afraid he will die. At this time, a young man in an ice bear robe and an octagonal ice jade crown said coldly in the audience. His face was as cold as an ice sculpture. Around him, there were a few young men who had reached the foundation establishment level or the early-stage golden core level. They were like stars surrounding the moon. But those people were only his subordinates and companions. Apparently, his status was extraordinary. How is that possible? A foundation establishment cultivator killed a golden core cultivator. Someone in the crowd was confused and wanted to refute. Zen Master Wuxin and Yun Yi, who had died on the Golden Lotus platform, were both golden core cultivators. But when the person who spoke took a closer look at the young man, he immediately stopped talking and bowed with fear in his eyes. The young man in the ice bear robe was the crown prince of the Ice Pole country, the most powerful of the 4 countries in the northern region, Jihan. He was also the most powerful person among the younger generation in the northern region. He was only 100 years old, but he had already reached the middle stage golden core level. He was more powerful than Crown Prince Mo Yang and could talk with the Arhat of the Golden Rock Temple. This time, he was also the only direct disciple of the sect master in the Ice Pole country's election. How could the Crown Prince of Jihan be wrong about such a talented person? Middle stage foundation establishment level. He is as vulnerable as a 3-year-old when he meets a golden core cultivator. He will definitely die. Someone looked at Jiang Tian sympathetically, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man, and murmured. Who can you blame? A Yan Huang tribesman is like an ant in this world. Even if he has some strength, he should keep a low profile. Don't you know that the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind? The Crown Prince of Jihan sneered and said with a cold gaze. Originally, him being selected as a direct disciple was a joyous occasion. But he did not expect that the Yunlan nation would choose a Yan Huang tribesman to be on the same level as him. Many people thought that the direct disciple selection this time was too weak. If a Yan Huang tribesman could be selected, how weak would this batch of direct disciples be? This made him extremely unhappy. When he said this, the crowd nodded in agreement. The Yan Huang tribesman should have died long ago. Wasn't it a waste of resources to occupy a direct disciple spot? You? A mere middle-stage golden core cultivator is like an ant. You are not qualified to challenge me. Jiang Tian's calm gaze swept across Feng Ao, then he shook his head and said disdainfully. I am not qualified to challenge you. Feng Ao was so angry that he laughed. He looked at Jiang Tian as though he was looking at a fool and said in disbelief, You are just a foundation establishment weakling. You actually think that I am not qualified to challenge you. I can kill you as easily as stepping on an ant. This Star Butcher is an interesting person. He knows that he is no match for Feng Ao, but he doesn't dare to accept the challenge and still wants to take advantage of Feng Ao. Interesting my ass. If he doesn't dare to fight, then he should kneel down and beg for mercy. What's the use of talking fast? Won't he anger Feng Ao? Everyone showed a look of disdain and laughed as they discussed. Don't you know that according to the sect rules, if you admit defeat, you have to give up your position and all the resources? Ice crystals and snowflakes danced in the air. The Crown Prince of Jihan was like an ice god. He stood proudly in the air with his arms crossed. His handsome face was as white as ice jade and he sneered. Kiki, a Yan Huang tribesman can enter the longevity sect and become a direct disciple. How great is this opportunity? It can even be said that he is the hope of the entire Yan Huang tribesmen. How can he give up? Yes, you are not worthy. Ignoring the discussion of the crowd, Jiang Tian's eyes were calm. He looked at Feng Ao and said, Ask your master, Feng Duoshan, to come out. Maybe he is worthy. How dare you? Feng Ao was flustered and exasperated. His expression changed drastically. The sound of wind whistling from his chest was deafening. Feng Ao, don't fall into his trap. In the crowd, a muscular young man wearing a tight waistcoat made of scaled python skin took a step forward. This person had a head full of small braids. His whole body was covered in tattoos and paint. They were all pictures of wild beasts and poisonous insects. He was filled with a primitive and wild aura. He'd only taken a single step, yet instantly, the ghastly and bloodthirsty aura of a ferocious beast surged out like a torrential river. Raging waves slapped the shore, and its might was 10 times stronger than the beast lightning, causing one's heart to palpitate. I am the beast python. I am an outer sect servant disciple. I wonder if I have the qualifications to challenge you, Star Butcher. This muscular young man took off his eye patch. Instantly, a pair of bloodshot vertical pupils were revealed. They were shining with a demonic red light. His voice was like a poisonous tongue. Beast Python. The current sect leader of the Imperial Beast sect. He actually came too. His trick is too deep. It's over. There is no escape. This Star Butcher is dead for sure. Everyone's expression changed drastically. They could not believe it. Even the Crown Prince of Jihan's expression changed slightly. Chapter 1126. This beast python was also at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, but he had reached the peak of level 5 and was close to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. He was even more powerful than Feng Ao. It was said that he had once obtained the soul of an ancient beast, the mountain coiling python, by chance in an ancient relic. He fed it with his own blood and soul every day, and after 100 years of hard work, he merged with the soul and formed the mountain coiling python Dharma form. Once his dantian exploded, the mountain coiling python Dharma form would appear and could kill a late stage of the Golden Core realm. Needless to say, this was a spy planted by the beast-controlling sect. He wanted to kill Jiang Tian in the name of a challenge. You are not enough. Didn't Shou Ruhai, that old man, want to kill me? Why don't you come out? In the face of the bloodthirsty pressure, Jiang Tian's clothes fluttered in the wind. He looked calm and a mocking smile appeared on his face. Outer Sect Disciple, Deacon of the Outer Sect Swordsmanship Hall, Lan Dai, challenges Cultivator Xing Tu. A beautiful young woman dressed in palace attire stepped into the air and walked out of the crowd. Her figure was voluptuous, and her face was charming and enchanting. She could be called a femme fatale. However, its aura was sharp and fierce to the extreme. It was like a shocking sword that could pierce through the sky. The gaze with which he looked at Jiang Tian was filled with hatred. It was as if he wanted to dismember Jiang Tian into 10,000 pieces to vent his hatred. Elder imparting skills from the Sword Palace of the Southern Region, Fairy Lan Dai. Ling Jianfeng, disciple of the Sword Palace, did lose to Xing Tu, but he didn't die or get hurt. He just lost face. There is no need to fight to the death, right? When the crowd saw this, they all exclaimed in disbelief. Everyone only knows one thing, but not the other. Only the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost laughed and sent a message to the sons of the lords and city lords. It is said that Fairy Lan Dai has an affair with the abbot of the Demon Rock Temple, and Zen Master Wuxin is the product of their love. So, she is not fighting for Ling Jianfeng, but for Zen Master Wuxin. She wants to avenge her son. When everyone heard this, their expressions changed drastically, and their hearts skipped a beat. Fairy Lauder is at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. Her self-created Orchid Heart Pure Sword is said to be able to break the divine soul of others and can kill a late-stage Gold Core realm cultivator. This time, this Star Butcher is really in trouble. This guy is really a troublemaker. I've offended too many people. The people behind the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost shook their heads with wry smiles. I told him long ago to keep a low profile, yet he was so decisive and ruthless. I wonder which one of them doesn't have a backer. At this moment, even Malbillion was terrified to the point her face went ghastly pale, and her entire body trembled like a sieve. She didn't dare get too close to Jiang Tian, and she avoided him from afar for fear of being implicated. Malbillion was only an outer sect disciple. To be specific, she was Fairy Luo Mei's maidservant. According to the rules, their positions and statuses were higher than Malbillion's, so they absolutely could not kill Malbillion. But as long as they want to kill you, can you escape? In the midst of a chaotic battle, any random divine ability would be enough to crush you into mincemeat. When the sect reprimanded them, they would say that the battle was dangerous, and that divine abilities were blind, and that they would accidentally injure and kill them by accident. Then, they would shirk all responsibility. You guys stop Senior Star Butcher. I'm going to find my aunt. This is going to cause a huge mess. I'm going to die. 3 Golden Core cultivators attacked at once, and Fan Shouju could not hold on any longer. His face changed color, and he pondered for a while. Suddenly, his body flashed a few times, and he fled outside. If the 3 of you want to fight, sure. Jiang Tian glanced at the 3 of them mockingly, and said with a faint smile. But you are not qualified to fight with me. Then, let my disciple, Fairy Ling Long, fight with you to prove my strength. Will you really die if you don't act tough? Fan Xiaozhu was still flying through the air when he heard these words from afar. He staggered and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Are you kidding me? How can you let her fight with you? Li Wuji stomped his feet anxiously. That's right, after hearing this, not to mention the people present, even Li Wuji, Yi Karen, and Lady Martial Demon, who knew Jiang Tian's background, couldn't believe it and were almost scared silly. They had killed a lot of cultivators along the way, but most of them were at the foundation establishment and chi refinement level. Jiang Tian and Fan Luomei were the ones who killed the golden core cultivators. Tang Linglong had just reached the second level of the foundation establishment. How could she compare with a golden core perfected immortal? Master, can I do it? Am I a match for him? In fact, Tang Linglong was also a bit panicked at this moment. She was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat. That was a golden core cultivator. In the Taoist classics of Hua Xia, those people were immortals. They could ride the clouds, eat the wind and drink the dew, and live for thousands of years without dying. This guy is no match for him at all. The Crown Prince of Extreme Frost had a mocking look in his eyes as he laughed coldly. That's why he let his disciple die as cannon fodder. He wants to buy time for Fairy Luomei to stop him. How despicable. It's okay. Jiang Tian ignored his mockery and said with a comforting smile. The sharpness of a sword has to be sharpened. You need to train. Extreme training. Jiang Tian patted her head and said with a warm smile. In today's battle, you will truly understand the power of the Taishian 13 swords. Besides, I'll be there to support you. Okay. Seeing Jiang Tian's gentle eyes, the fear in Tang Linglong's heart was swept away. She was full of confidence and enthusiasm. She nodded heavily. She had always been infatuated with Jiang Tian. However, she knew that Jiang Tian and his master's wife were very close. Therefore, she could only hide her feelings in the bottom of her heart. At this moment, she only felt that even if she were to be crushed to ashes immediately, it would be worth it as long as Jiang Tian could be sad for her for even a minute. Why should I be afraid of dying for him? She felt that her eyes were bloodshot and her vision was scarlet. As she approached the crowd, she staggered and almost fell. Look at this girl. She's so scared that she's trembling and almost fell. No wonder. How can an early-stage foundation establishment realm cultivator fight against a mid-stage golden core realm true immortal? This star butcher is really shameless. He's so afraid of death that he actually sent his disciple to her death. This girl is too naive. Master sent her to her death and she really did it obediently. Seeing this, many female cultivators looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. They felt that it was not worth it for Tang Linglong. Ha, look, your disciple is so scared that she's trembling. Do you still want to fight with us? Star Butcher, you're so shameless. Everyone laughed loudly and their faces were full of mockery. Trash. Without exception, the Yan Huang tribesmen are all trash. This Star Butcher is trash. The disciple he taught is also trash. Feng Ao's face was full of disdain. His eyes were arrogant and he was looking down on others as if he was looking at ants. How dare you be disrespectful to my master? Mocking and ridiculing incessantly, Tang Linglong slowly raised her head and looked at Feng Ao. A gentle breeze blew by, lifting up her silky black hair, revealing a pair of sharp and cold eyes. Die! A cry that sounded like the cry of a sword shot out from Tang Linglong's captivating red lips. She then formed a seal with her fingers. 3 of the blazing bone swords jumped out from the belt-like sword case. The 2 of them were finally going to fight. At this moment, many people frowned and shook their heads. Especially the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost, his eyes were full of mockery. They could naturally see that Tang Linglong was only at the second level of Foundation Establishment realm. She had not even reached the mid-stage. With this level of cultivation, not to mention a mid-stage Golden Core Realm cultivator, even an early-stage Golden Core Realm cultivator or a fake Core Realm cultivator would be like an ant trying to shake a tree. With a Jindan in my dantian, my life is in my hands. The strength of a Jindan was like that of a true immortal. It was already at another level of life. It would not decay for thousands of years and its true yuan would condense into a solid state. It was endless and inexhaustible. It could easily suppress hundreds of late-stage Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. Little girl, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Your head will be my stepping stone to kill the Star Butcher. Feng Ao sneered and waved his hands. Suddenly, the wind howled and a huge loophole-shaped vortex appeared above his head. The heaven and earth yuan qi within a few kilometers gathered into sword-shaped wind blades and floated in front of him. Under the light of thousands of wind blades, his aura changed. At this moment, his demeanor changed abruptly. Like a god of war who was controlling the wind, he stood proudly in the sky and suppressed everything around him. Chapter 1127. He's so powerful. No wonder he's a mid-stage golden core cultivator. If he joins the Changshan sect, he might even become a mid-level cultivator. The disciples of the Changshan sect were shocked. Even the crown prince of Extreme Frost nodded. They all felt a sense of suffocation. At this moment, all the air within a radius of a few kilometers had been sucked dry. The Feng family could control airflow and form wind blades. With this technique, they could control a giant city and stand tall for thousands of years. They were comparable to the royal family. Kill! With a cold and merciless snort, Feng Ao took the initiative to attack. He wanted to end the battle quickly, get rid of all obstacles, and immediately kill Jiang Tian. The wind blades in front of him were like dazzling lightning bolts as he flicked his fingers. Silver light flashed and lit up the entire Luo Mei courtyard. Suddenly, thousands of wind blades exploded at the same time and formed a 100-meter-long silver dragon. With the power to split the sea, it crossed 1,000 meters in an instant and went straight for Tang Linglong. With this wind blade dragon, Feng Ao could become one of the top 100 overlords in the northern region. He was as powerful as some of the leaders and ambassadors of the Changshan sect. As soon as the wind blades appeared, they formed a silver dragon. The sword energy was extremely cold, and it illuminated an area of 3 to 4 li. Even if Fairy Luo Mei was here, she would still have to carefully deal with it, not daring to be careless. Even Li Wuji's expression was grave. Yi Karen's pretty face was pale. The martial demon lady even subconsciously grabbed Jiang Tian's sleeve with a worried expression. Taishian 13 Swords, the first move. Sword of Mountains and Rivers. Tang Linglong had completely calmed down. She didn't panic and her eyes were as deep as the stars. As she shouted, the 3 burning bone swords flew up and down. Suddenly, a vast sword chi and sword intent surged. Numerous towering peaks rose from the ground, lofty and precipitous. Numerous large rivers flowed endlessly, as if they had substance. What? She's just a Foundation Establishment cultivator. How can she create such a phenomenon? Many people's eyes almost popped out as they screamed. Every Golden Core Overlord hoped to have a Dharma form, which was sometimes called a phenomenon. The reason why Golden Core Overlords were much more powerful than Foundation Establishment Overlords was because of the power of the Dharma form. However, this did not mean that every Golden Elixir cultivator would be able to manifest the power of a Dharma power. He had to have at least a high-grade Golden Core, or even a Transcendent Grade 1. In order to form the Dharma power, many Aurus cores were willing to do anything. Therefore, other Dharma powers were born, such as refining weapons, talismans, formations, and other Dharma powers. These Dharma powers supplemented the formation of the Dharma power. For example, Li Longyuan, who had formed an ordinary golden core, had to rely on external forces, such as the energy of the Big Dipper tree, to forcibly form the Big Dipper phenomenon. It was the same when Jiang Tian was attacked by the Elder's Scrolls in the Light Temple. However, without exception, those capable of using Dharma Idol were all core formation cultivators. At least in West Earth, there was no precedent for Foundation Establishment cultivators. At this moment, Tang Linglong, who was obviously in the early stage of the foundation establishment stage, actually released a Dharma form with her sword. How could everyone not be shocked? The mountains and rivers under Tang Linglong's sword were vivid and lifelike, as if they were solid. However, they were all composed of flames. They were red and looked more like magma, exuding a terrible heat that made people's hearts palpitate. What? Seeing this, Feng Ao was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. His heart was filled with warning signs, and it was too late for him to retract his wind blades. Many mountains and rivers suddenly hung upside down, as if thousands of mountains were crashing down together, with endless power. Bang bang bang. The wind blade's silver dragon could not withstand the power of this phenomenon at all. In a few seconds, it shattered and dissipated like paper, turning into rolling air currents that shot out. Sword covering mountains and rivers, was extremely hot and heavy. Not only did it shatter the wind blade's silver dragon, it also smashed the hard rock surface into pieces. The flying rocks exploded in the next second, or turned into magma that splattered everywhere. The terrible airwaves spread in all directions, destroying everything in their path. Even the spectators who were a kilometer away were shocked and quickly retreated. The divine abilities used by core formation cultivators were usually connected to the Dantian and Sea of Consciousness. Otherwise, it would be like a tree without roots, a duckweed without roots, collapsing with one hit and unable to become strong. However, at the same time, once the divine ability was defeated, the Dantian and Sea of Consciousness would often suffer a strong backlash. Following the destruction of the wind blade's silver dragon, Feng Ao's Dantian suddenly shook violently. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and his face twisted in pain. "Save me!" Amidst a scream filled with unwillingness and fear, he endured the dizziness and executed his footwork. He flew out like a withered leaf in a gale. Although he staggered, his speed was still very fast. "Damn girl, you're so fierce." The beast python's demonic vertical pupils flashed coldly, and it made a hand sign. Suddenly, a roar came from the Dantian, and a colorful light rushed out from the Dantian. Its speed was as fast as lightning, wanting to block Tang Linglong. Die! However, Tang Linglong's speed was even faster. Before Feng Ao's first step back landed, she had already soared into the sky, turning into a fiery red afterimage. Dozens of crimson-red blazing bone swords shot out from her waist. Everyone only saw 10 rays of sword light that were like red waterfalls flying up and down like rainbows chasing each other, and they illuminated the surroundings to the point it was completely red. The scorching temperature roasted all the spirit herbs and trees, and many buildings were only saved from the fate of being roasted into magma by the formation runes that shot into the sky. In just a breath's time, Chi! With a bang, 10 blazing bone swords crossed the distance of 1,000 meters, like antelopes hanging their horns, and like white horses flashing through a gap, they pierced through a subtle and peerless angle, piercing through many defenses, piercing through his protective true yuan armor or a chi, and actually forcefully piercing through Feng Ao's chest. 10 swords pierced through the chest. "You can't kill me." At this time, Feng Ao's Dantian was stained with blood, and the corner of his mouth kept spitting out blood foam. Although he was heavily injured, he did not die immediately. Gold core experts were known to be immortal for 1,000 years, how could they be so easy to kill? As long as the gold core was not broken and the soul was not destroyed, they could reconstruct their body, and even take over the body. "Damn girl, I'll kill you." Feng Ao floated in the air with a face full of hatred. His teeth were almost crushed, and he stared at Tang Linglong with resentment. He was the elite genius of the Feng family, with a cultivation of gold core, and even had the chance to succeed as the governor of Windblade City and control the giant city. He was valued by many elders, even more than Crown Prince Mo Yang. He was one of the most powerful talents under 100 years old in the northern region. But now, he was severely injured by a disciple of Jiang Tian. He could not accept this, and his hatred for Tang Linglong and Jiang Tian was monstrous. However, as soon as he finished speaking, endless light bloomed in his body, and his bones and internal organs were clearly visible. His 7 orifices were like electric welding guns, shooting out sharp blue flames like arrows. Ah! Feng Ao screamed with fear and unwillingness. The next moment, his body exploded, and he died an unnatural death. How is it possible? At this moment, not only were the disciples of the Changxing sect dumbfounded, Li Wuji and the other experts of Hua Xia could not believe it, and even the crown prince of Extreme Frost's face changed dramatically. Tang Linglong was clearly a cultivator in the early stage of foundation establishment, but she could create a mountain and river vision, and her sword chi could travel thousands of meters. Her swordsmanship and mystique were so powerful that even a gold core expert and a sword master could not catch up with her. Was she still a member of the Yan Huang tribe? Was she still a little girl in her early 20s? If she was so strong, then how strong was her master, Star Butcher? At this moment, the gazes everyone looked at Jiang Tian no longer contained the slightest trace of ridicule and contempt, and it was replaced with deep fear and bewilderment. You can't even defeat my disciple. As expected, you can't even withstand a single blow. You're just a clown. Only Jiang Tian's face was calm, and he was not surprised at all. Cultivation was cultivation, and combat strength was combat strength. Cultivation was usually measured by the amount of true origin, or to put it bluntly, it was the aura. But there were too many factors that affected combat strength. From the cultivator's own body, the quality of true origin, physical body, soul, and from the outside, cultivation techniques, martial techniques, magical treasures. All aspects would affect a cultivator's combat strength. Otherwise, how could there be so many cross-level challenges and killing enemies? When everyone met, there was no need to fight. Once the true origin cultivation was shown, the weak could just kill themselves. This set of 13 Taishian swords was created by him and his old friend in the Nine Clouds continent, the Taishian Celestial Lord. It was known for its sharpness, indomitable momentum, and powerful attacks. That year, the Taishian Celestial Lord started with this set of sword techniques as a small woodcutter. He swept through the 8 wastelands, shook the 6 directions, and consecutively defeated 13 strong sword cultivator sections. His name shook the 9 Clouds continent, and finally, he inherited the mandate of heaven and became an immortal emperor. Besides, the Blazing Bones sword was a magical treasure that Jiang Tian had meticulously refined. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a top-grade spiritual treasure. It could be said that Tang Linglong was completely superior to Feng Ao in terms of true origin quality, cultivation techniques, martial techniques, and magical treasures. She could learn from each other's strengths to make up for her weaknesses. What was so difficult about killing Feng Ao? And among the crowd, the beast python who had just helped his companion was not only shocked and frightened, but also endlessly embarrassed. Damn it! How did the Imperial Beast sect get their information? They didn't say that Star Butcher had a disciple with Jindan battle strength. At this moment, seeing that Feng Ao, whose cultivation level was similar to his, was killed in a blink of an eye, the beast python wanted to cry but had no tears. His face was extremely embarrassed. The 5-colored light that spurted out from his dantian did not stop Tang Linglong's flying sword. It landed in the air, and shockingly, it was the shadow of a mountain coiling python that was 100 zhang long. This mountain coiling python's avatar was overflowing with domineering aura. It was too eye-catching and made him, who was in a dilemma, unable to advance or retreat. At this moment, he could neither withdraw his dantian nor not withdraw his avatar. But Fairy Lauder was different from him. She wanted to avenge her son's death and had the heart to fight to the death. Immediately, her beautiful face was filled with killing intent. She looked at the beast python and said coldly, "Beast python, if you are scared off by a little girl from the Yan Huang tribe, a servant girl, how can you establish yourself in the northern region in the future?" When these words came out, everyone present looked at the beast python. They did not know if he would fight to the death or pinch his nose and give up. Chapter 1128. The situation is different from the information we collected. We have to reevaluate it. Why are you in such a hurry? The beast python's expression changed slightly. He was in a dilemma. Fairy Lauder's reminder was very tactful. But in fact, the beast python knew that the situation was 10 times, no, 100 times more serious than what Lauder had said. Previously, Jiang Tian defeated Shou Lei, Shou Ruhai's grandson. When he went up the mountain, he defeated Shou Ruhai's soul avatar and humiliated him. According to the rules of the Changshan sect, the strong and high-ranking members had no right to challenge the low-ranking members. Shou Ruhai could not fight. However, Shou Ruhai hated Jiang Tian, who had repeatedly humiliated him, to the bone. Shou Ruhai had given him a death order. If he couldn't kill Jiang Tian, he would definitely be punished severely. He came to challenge Jiang Tian aggressively and arrogantly, but he could not even kill Jiang Tian's disciple. This was tantamount to slapping Shou Ruhai's face heavily. After the left slap, the right slap, the right slap. How could Shou Ruhai tolerate this? He would probably eat him alive to vent his anger. No, I can't defeat her. I'll find a reason to retreat later. How about I hide my identity and have diarrhea? The beast python naturally put away the mountain coiling python avatar. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. He decided to retreat and did not want to fight with Tang Linglong. But at this moment, he suddenly felt that he was being stared at by a peerless beast. He felt a chill in his heart. Beast python. At this time, a deacon from the elder courtyard stepped on the void and flew over while shouting in a low voice. Here. The beast python secretly complained. It was obvious that Shou Ruhai had been paying attention to this place. There was no chance for him to escape. The deacon came forward and handed over a piece of armor. His eyes were cold and full of warning, and he said, "Yellow serpent armor, Elder Ruhai's precious treasure. I'll give it to you now. You know what to do, right? Thank you, Elder, for giving me this treasure. I'll kill the enemy bravely." The beast python was shocked and quickly put on the yellow serpent armor. Yellow serpent armor. Shou Ruhai really put in a lot of effort this time. He even took out his own protective treasure. But there's no other way. The other subordinates of Shou Ruhai had too high a position and could not challenge Star Butcher. We can only let the beast python take the lead. Many disciples of the Changshan sect present exclaimed, thinking that Tang Linglong and even Jiang Tian were dead this time. This yellow serpent armor was made 500 years ago by Shou Ruhai after he killed a powerful gold core realm beast called the Yellow Serpent Dragon. Afterwards, Shou Ruhai treated it as a treasure and refined it daily for 500 years. It was rumored that this treasure was indestructible and could withstand the continuous attacks of a late-stage gold core cultivator. With such a spiritual treasure and the mountain coiling python in his dantian, killing Tang Linglong would be a piece of cake. Xing Tu, Linglong, are you scared? If you're afraid, then kneel on the ground and stretch out your neck to be executed. Wearing the armor, the beast python felt as if it was going to explode. It felt as if it could crush the earth with one stomp and tear the sky with one palm. It could not help but roar to the sky. In fact, it was not an illusion. The yellow serpent armor was an item that could both attack and defend. It contained the blood essence of the yellow serpent dragon, which could seep into its skin and blood vessels. It could temporarily increase its combat strength and blood essence like a stimulant to an athlete. I'm very merciful. I'll leave your bodies intact. Instantly, the tendons on the python's entire body swelled up and bulged, its veins bulged up high like thick earthworms, the vital blood in its entire body seethed and filled the sky, and its eyes were red to the point it seemed as if blood would drip out, causing it to be extremely monstrous and brutal. At this time, Prince Jihan sneered and shook his head. This time, Fairy Linglong will definitely die. Fairy Lauder also took a step back and snorted. The beast python's combat strength is comparable to that of a late-stage gold core cultivator. It can kill the two of them as easily as killing chickens. Her meaning was obvious. There was no need for her to do anything. Then there was no need to kill the enemy with her own hands. Wouldn't it be great to watch Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong be trampled into mud? How dare you ask my master to kneel? How dare you? You insulted my master, die. After killing Feng Ao, Tang Linglong's confidence doubled. Her hair fluttered in the wind, and her eyes were filled with determination. She said coldly, today, I'll kill you. Also, Fairy Lauder, don't retreat. Let's attack together. Crazy. This woman is completely crazy. Many people present were stunned and could not believe it. This woman's strength was not ordinary, but how could two middle-stage gold core cultivators be so easy to deal with? She was courting death. Stupid girl, do you want to die? Then I'll fulfill your wish. I'll chop you into pieces first, and then I'll grind Xing Tu into ashes. Fairy Lauder shouted coldly, and her sword jumped out of the scabbard automatically. Kill. However, with a violent roar, the beast python had already made a move. His dantian hissed, and the mountain coiling python rushed out. This mountain coiling python was extraordinary. It was about 100 feet long and looked like a colorful waterfall. Its demonic vertical pupils flickered with frightening light, and its head was like a villa. Its two millstone-like mouths opened, and its teeth were like iron hooks. The snake's forked tongue was as thick as an adult's arm. Sword of mountains and rivers. Tang Linglong shouted, and another 10 bone swords burst out. When everyone heard this, they were stunned and did not know whether to laugh or cry. This move again. Does he only know this move? After all, Tang Linglong had just stepped into the foundation establishment stage. The many moves of the Taishian 13 swords were too exquisite and vast, and she could not control them. However, one move could conquer the world. She had already mastered the first move, Sword of Mountains and Rivers, and she could use it freely. At this moment, she was coping with all changes by remaining unchanged. Trash. Is this all you can do? The beast python was humiliated, and the disdain in its eyes was extremely strong. His dantian spewed out a bloody light. Instantly, the giant python covered the sky like a steel train. It seemed to be able to crush boulders and collapse mountains. As fast as lightning, it coiled towards Tang Linglong. Do I need a second move to kill you? Seeing the giant python approaching, Tang Linglong's 10 blazing flying swords all turned into flaming mountains that rose from the ground. They grew taller and taller, and they were 100 meters tall, protecting her firmly. The giant python's body coiled around the 10 mountain peaks tightly. It wanted to crush them and squeeze Tang Linglong into the mountain peaks. Crack! Crack! Deafening explosions rang out, and cracks appeared on many of the flaming mountains. However, the giant python did not have it easy either. It was burned until large patches of scales fell off, and there was a pungent burnt smell. This was not an illusion. This giant python phenomenon was the skeleton of the mountain coiling python's soul, and the beast python's essence, blood and vital essence were injected into it. When burned by high temperatures, it would emit a smell. Bang! 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 The 3 mountains crumbled, revealing the bone swords. Tang Linglong's expression changed slightly. Her eyes were cold, and she shouted repeatedly. Suddenly, the blazing bone swords flew out of the sword case and turned into flaming mountains and rivers, protecting her from top to bottom. In the end, all 24 blazing bone swords burst out, barely blocking the beast python's attack. She has no more Dharma treasures or weapons. Kill her while she's down. Fairy Lauder's clear eyes were cold, and she waved the sword in her hand lightly, without a trace of anger. However, only golden core cultivators could sense a vast spiritual power erupting from her sword, turning into tens of thousands of swords and shooting towards Tang Linglong's mind. Orchid Heart Sword. Chaotic Emotions Slash. At this moment, Tang Linglong was instantly confused, and images that made her heart palpitate appeared in her mind. First slash. Broken family ties, lonely heart. A low shout that sounded like a demon's language. Tang Linglong suddenly saw her grandfather, Tang Guizhu. His face was old and frail. His eyes were filled with tears as he called out her name with love and reluctance. He staggered and rode a crane to the west. Grandpa! Tang Linglong's beautiful eyes were dazed, and she roared out. At the same time, bang! In the explosion, a mountain of bone swords collapsed under the pressure of the mountain-coiling python's thick body. She was hit by the violent airflow and swayed in the wind like a withered leaf. Second slash. Lover leaves, storm rises. Sword light flashed, and a loud incantation sounded in the depths of Tang Linglong's mind. Master, Masteress, Tang Linglong's eyes widened. She clearly saw Jiang Tian holding Qing'er and walking over with a livid face. Evil disciple, how dare you covet my husband's beauty? You don't deserve to be our disciple. You, get out of the sect. Qing'er was in Jiang Tian's arms, pleasing him. When she turned her head, her beautiful face was as cold as ice that would not melt for 10,000 years, and she shouted sternly. Expelling her from the sect is too easy for her. Kill her. Jiang Tian's eyes were full of contempt, disgust, disdain, and ridicule. The sharp sword pierced through his chest, and blood spurted out from his back. Master! Why are you doing this? Tang Linglong's delicate body trembled violently. Her eyes were scarlet, and tears of blood seeped out. She looked up to the sky and cried out in grief. Bang! 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 3 more bone sword volcanoes were shattered. Humph, 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 you're still a mortal ant after all. You don't know how to sever your emotions and desires. This fairy, with a word, can make you fall into a demon. Fairy Lauder's beautiful face was full of coldness, twisted and ferocious, and filled with the joy and excitement of revenge. Although he didn't kill Jiang Tian, he killed his favorite disciple. Jiang Tian's heart must be in great pain. Senior, why aren't you making a move? Look at how Linglong has been tortured. Lady Wu was so anxious that she stomped her feet. Her temperament is too soft, and her Dao heart is not tough enough. She deserves this calamity. If she doesn't survive this calamity, it will be difficult for her to become a great talent. Jiang Tian's expression was calm, and his gaze was focused. Jiang Tian wanted to turn every disciple into a peerless expert. How could a flower in a greenhouse withstand a storm? Tang Linglong had to be tempered. This time, he was present and could save her. But if he was not present, how could they take charge alone? Third slash. Friendship collapses, thousands of arrows piercing the heart. Seeing that Jiang Tian's expression was still calm, Fairy Lauder snorted disdainfully, and the third incantation erupted along with the sword momentum. Chapter 1129. At this time, Tang Linglong's eyes were already scarlet, and tears of blood were gurgling. They were full of confusion, hatred, resentment, depression, and grievance. But merciless mental attacks followed one after another. Suddenly, Huang Linger, Sasaki Aisha, Zhao Yuankuan, and other disciples walked out together and began to talk sarcastically. You're ugly and have poor talent, but you still dare to love Master. Why don't you take a piss and look in the mirror? What kind of person are you? Huang Linger smiled disdainfully, and her eyes were as cold as a glacier. She was originally so gentle, loving, kind, and never spoke loudly, but at this moment, she was so heartless, contemptuous, and vicious. Tang Linglong, you're a waste. You're jealous every day in the sect, and you often duel with me. You're not afraid of delaying the battle, and you have no awareness of the overall situation. Sasaki Aisha's face was also full of ridicule. For a time, many sarcastic remarks came, and they were incessant, as if many poisonous snakes were spitting out their tongues. One figure after another appeared, and the crowd was densely packed. Even Tang Linglong's kindergarten classmates came out to humiliate her. Ah! Why? Tang Linglong felt as if her heart had been pierced by thousands of arrows. Her heart was quickly shattered, and she was in so much pain that she wanted to die. I don't accept this. Why can't I love him? I'm not a waste. My life is in my hands, not in the hands of God. Suddenly, Tang Linglong shouted, and the emotions in her eyes disappeared, turning into a kind of extreme obsession, and then spurted out flames of anger. An intense infatuated love transformed into an unyielding and monstrous battle intent that exploded in his mind. His violent willpower swept out in all directions. Suddenly, many illusions in her mind, like broken screens, all collapsed and disappeared. Tang Linglong's eyes were still scarlet, but her eyes gradually became clear, and she could see the situation around her. Puff! At the moment when the illusions were broken, Fairy Lauder was shocked and took a few steps back. Her divine sense attack was broken, and she also suffered a backlash. A trace of blood seeped out of the corner of her mouth. You can actually break my Orchid Heart Essence sword. The woman's eyes were filled with horror. With her cultivation level, she could naturally see that Tang Linglong didn't have a very strong divine sense at all. However, he had actually used the most primitive form of willpower to break her divine sense attack. However, at this time, the mountain coiling python crushed a few more bone sword mountains. Tang Linglong's clothes were torn and her flesh was torn. She released many flying swords in succession and condensed them again, barely pushing the mountain coiling python away. Kill her while she's at her weakest. That's right. At this moment, she has already used all her magical treasures. She has no more tricks up her sleeves. Fairy Lauder and the beast python looked at each other and quickly rushed towards the Tang Linglong, attacking the Bone Sword Mountain. Both of them were in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Every move they made had the power to shatter mountains and crack the earth. At this time, the two of them exerted their full strength and did not hold back. Suddenly, the Bone Sword Mountain trembled violently and kept collapsing. Tang Linglong was in a difficult position and was extremely miserable. Even if her bone swords are magical treasures, they can't last 3 breaths. She will definitely die. The Crown Prince of Extreme Frost sneered and shook his head. The surrounding people were full of mockery, as if Tang Linglong was already a dead person. At this moment, he still hasn't made a move. He's a coward. How despicable. Many people, especially the female cultivators, had expressions of disdain and mockery on their faces that had reached their peak. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. The violent energy on the 24 burning bone swords pushed the mountain coiling python avatar horizontally and tore a crack open. Tang Linglong stepped out of the crack. Her scarlet eyes were filled with a wild and bloodthirsty aura, like a female demon. What? The beast python was stunned and was about to attack. Tang Linglong removed the spine sword case from her waist, raised it high, and swung it down. Boom! The spine sword case expanded in the wind and became a few hundred meters long in an instant. It fell from the sky like a flaming bullet train. Block! The beast python was shocked. It had never thought that Tang Linglong's sword case was also a magical treasure. It was even more powerful than the burning bone swords. Suddenly, the shadow of a yellow dragon appeared from the armor and rushed up, trying to block the spine sword case. However, there was no need for that at all. The phantom of the flood dragon instantly shattered. Then, the spine sword box continued to smash down like 10,000 mountains. It was filled with boundless might. Open! In an instant, the beast python raised its hands to the sky and released endless power. Even its golden core was burning and the boiling blood chi filled the surroundings. Bang! The spine sword scabbard was like a flood dragon cutting through the wind and waves. It forcefully split open the chi and blood astral wind and heavily slammed onto the beast python's head. Boom! The beast python's head exploded, its neck exploded, its chest exploded, and its 4 limbs exploded. The yellow dragon armor was like a string of firecrackers exploding inch by inch at an extremely fast speed. Then, under the extremely high temperature of the sword sheath, everything turned into ashes and smoke. Die! At this time, Fairy Lauder had already attacked Tang Linglong's side. A cold sword light with a fierce spiritual attack stabbed toward her chest. At this time, the spine sword case in Tang Linglong's hand had returned to a length of more than 10 meters, like a fiery red whip. Seeing the vicious sword stabbing toward her, Tang Linglong raised her eyebrows and shouted coldly, "Aunt, you are courting death." Her right hand shook. Whoosh! The sword sheath on her spine coiled up like a fiery snake, instantly shattering her sword inch by inch. Tang Linglong stepped forward and grabbed Fairy Lauder's throat like an eagle catching a chick. She asked condescendingly, "How dare you disrespect my master?" Jiang Tian frowned and shook his head gently. After all, the other party was a Jindan. Her body was tougher and her true essence was more vigorous. It was too risky for Tang Linglong to fight at such a close distance. However, Tang Linglong's aura was too strong. Fairy Lauder was scared out of her wits. She broke out in a cold sweat and trembled. For a moment, she did not react. "Go to hell!" Tang Linglong shouted coldly. Her eyes were cold. She crushed Fairy Lauder's throat and forcefully pulled out her spine. Fairy Lauder's eyes dimmed and her body fell. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly flicked his finger and shattered Lauder's Jindan to prevent her from reviving. At this time, the mountain-coiling python vision suddenly cracked under the power of the 24 blazing bone swords without the support of the beast python's chi and blood. Then, it exploded uncontrollably. A Foundation establishment cultivator killed 3 Jindan cultivators in a row. Terrifying, too terrifying. How can a Yan Huang clansman be so powerful? Everyone was dumbfounded. They could not believe it. There seemed to be a heavy stone in their hearts that could not be removed. This is going to be a huge disgrace, especially the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost. Other than shock and fear, his face was flushed red. He wanted to find a hole to hide in and disappear before everyone's eyes. Before this, he had looked down on Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong. However, the current outcome was like a slap to his face. Before this, he had expressed on many occasions that he was ashamed to be associated with Jiang Tian. However, now it seemed that he was not even a match for Jiang Tian's disciple. Jiang Tian had not targeted him from the beginning to the end. He had not even looked at him. However, every time he thought of his arrogant words, the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost felt like his face had been slapped swollen. He was like a clown. After a while, the smoke dissipated and the dust settled. Luo Mei courtyard regained its peace. "Master, I didn't embarrass you this time." Tang Linglong seemed to have collapsed. She landed weakly in the courtyard and staggered over. She smiled with tears in her eyes and looked at Jiang Tian. Her eyes were pitiful and humble. She was like a child who had scored high and wanted to be praised by her parents. She had killed someone of a higher level than her. It was a narrow victory. At this moment, she was in a sorry state. Her clothes were tattered, revealing her snow-white skin. She was covered in blood and her little face was dirty. However, she was smiling brightly and happily. "Not bad." Jiang Tian took off his white robe and draped it over her body. He helped her tighten her clothes and smiled, nodding his head in approval. Tang Linglong tugged at her clothes. She could still feel her master's warmth on the robe. She was so happy that tears rolled down her face. She suppressed the urge to throw herself into Jiang Tian's arms and cry. Jiang Tian's standards were too high and he was strict. He rarely praised her. At this moment, her heart was sweeter than honey. Even if she died, it would be worth it. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he swept his gaze over the crowd, and he said indifferently, "I wonder who still wants to come up and challenge me? My disciple is already tired. I will accept the challenge next." "We don't dare." Boom. The crowd retreated like grasshoppers. They instantly retreated a kilometer away. Their faces were filled with fear. They were afraid that Jiang Tian would target them. The Crown Prince of Extreme Frost was too shocked to react. He stayed where he was and became very conspicuous. Jiang Tian's gaze instantly locked onto him. "Damn it, all of you ran faster than rabbits. Most importantly, you didn't even greet me before you ran. What a scam. The Crown Prince of Extreme Frost was helpless. He wanted to cry but had no tears.